All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our May 18, 2021 City Council meeting. It is 7:03 p.m. Meeting is now in session. Tonight's invocation will be led by Chaplain Albert Aguilar from Eminent Health, and I will be leading the Pledge of Allegiance. All rise.
Chaplain, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for this privilege of offering the invocation to the esteemed group. Gracious God, God of all authority and municipalities, look upon these elected officials and grant them wisdom and discernment in serving those who have elected them to govern and administer the resources necessary to allow their city to function and be prosperous. Allow their faith to illuminate them to be moral and ethical in all their decisions so that they may feel the presence of their faith in all they do. We pray this in your most holy name. Amen.
Amen. All right, please place the flag right over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chaplain.
Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you. So I'd like to first note that Mayor Pro Tem Dario Castellano couldn't be here today as he is welcoming his first newborn healthy baby boy. So congratulations to a proud new parent. And
we have more population.
And adding an addition to the West Covina's population. That being said, we can go ahead and proceed with roll call.
Councilmember Tabatabai.
Present.
Councilman Wu.
Here.
Councilwoman Diaz.
Here.
Mayor Lopez Beato.
Present.
Noting Mayor Pro Tem Castellanos is absent. Thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney, is there anything to be reported out of closed session?
Yes, Madam Mayor. With regard to item number 1 on the special closed session agenda, on a vote of 4-0, Mayor Pro Tem Castellanos absent, Council directed City Manager to negotiate and execute a purchase and sale agreement regarding the 730 parcel. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Thank you. Now on to presentations.
Testing, testing.
So we'd like to invite Dr. Laura Rivas and Mr. Eric Venegas to the front. Are they here today? Wonderful. And we also have a representative from Assembly Blanca Rubio. So we would like to recognize the high school students who attained a 4.0 for the fall semester. And this year has been so different for our students we want to take this time to recognize the students for their hard work. This is for the 11th and 12th grades, and obviously the 12th graders is their last year. Would you like anything to say prior to we present?
Good evening. My name is Dr. Julie Mitchell. I'm the proud superintendent of the Roland Unified School District. It's my pleasure to be here this evening to recognize our students. As was shared by our mayor, it has been a very unique year. So our students were just had the opportunity to come back to their classrooms after having been out of the classrooms for 408 days. They came back on April 26th for some in-person support. So as was shared, we're recognizing juniors and seniors who have a 4.0 grade point average, and so under normal circumstances, that's a challenge. But learning all virtually, these students have showed perseverance, grit, and lots of willingness and ability to be able to overcome some challenges that no other student population has had to do. So very much appreciate the opportunity to be here. Sorry.
No worries. I'm Eric Venegas. I'm on the Board of Education. I'm also a West Covina resident, and I am so proud of them all. I'm glad to be here and supporting them, and it's an amazing time, so thank you.
And a few words from the Assembly's office.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jalissa Zepeda. I'm with the Office of Assemblywoman Blanca Rubio. And just to touch on what they said, it has been a difficult year, especially for these students and as they prepare for college and higher education. So congratulations to them, and you guys are doing a great job.
Well, thank you. So we'll go ahead and start with the 11th graders. Can we have Alejandra Garcia? come to the front? She's not here? Okay. Junmar Isip? Here? There might be upstairs. Okay. There he is. I hear the crowd up there clapping. Well, yeah, if we could have them all line up. Come closer. There he is. Hi. Come on down. First time in the council chambers? Yeah, well, welcome, welcome. You could be sitting here one day. Alexander Muro. There it is. Congratulations. You can stay up here and we'll take a full photo. Congratulations. Justin Theo. Victoria Wade Hayes. Congratulations. And now for our 12th graders. Daniel Barrios. Oh, Danielle. Sorry, Danielle. Caitlin Cavania. Right here. Brianna Carrasco. Carlos Delgado. Okay. Lily Fries. Rihanna Garcia. Melody Garcia. Christian Jimenez. Christian Junio. Cesarina Malvan. So we'd like to give a big round of applause to all these 11 and 12-year-old brain GPA. So can I have half of you stand on this side? We'll go ahead and, but before so, I'd like to, like I asked the last group, how did you guys do that, 4.0 in this time?
I was just really motivated because, like, I had so much free time, and because of the pandemic, I haven't been going out as much, so, you know, I've been staying home because of limitation of being outside, so I might as well just, like, do stuff and learn.
I did nothing but study because school got harder. So I figured, if I can't get help from my teachers, might as well help myself.
I just kept persevering because I know at these times everything's limited. So it was really, the question was who was going to step up and who was going to be there leading the world. And I want to be someone like that.
Oh, bravo.
I just tried my best and I applied myself the best that I could.
I developed the positive mindset, so whenever I was faced with an obstacle, you know, I would encourage myself and motivate myself, even with my family members and my friends.
Wonderful. Great support system.
I guess for me, I just tried adapting like best to my situation, and I tried to find creative ways to like incorporate education outside of just sitting in front of my laptop. Like sometimes you find yourself studying calculus while you're roller skating, and sometimes that's how it is. So yeah.
Good, thank you.
I feel like the development of my positivity just grew over the time, and I couldn't do it without the support of my parents and family.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, parents.
What's gotten me through the last year is just a lot of determination, because graduation doesn't stop because there's a pandemic, so I knew that I didn't want this to get in my way of graduating.
Oh. It was really difficult. It was really difficult for me at the beginning of the online schooling.
but I got through it, and it was really actually accomplished.
For me, what helped me was just being able to push through and find ways to continue and keep going even when things get hard, and support of my family and loved ones.
I just so much had free time at home, so I might as well study.
There was no way I was letting a pandemic stop me from going to college.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. We are so proud of all of you, and we wanted to... Another round? Yay. Go ahead and take a picture. Do you need some on this side? You got everybody? The parents paparazzi, the proud parents. You got it? We're good? Wonderful. Thank you again. We greatly appreciate you here. Thanks for your hard work. And one more round, and congratulations. So thank you again. Thank you. Last day of school is in 2 more weeks. And then off to college for the seniors. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you. So there's still some good during COVID. Oh, we have... Yes. Can we have our superintendent, Dr. Mitchell, and we actually have two? Acknowledge all our students. Come on down. What's their name? Okay, that's okay. So we have, we have Zarina here. She's also being recognized. Is there something you'd like to say?
Thank you for this recognition. Yeah.
And congratulations for your hard work and dedication. Thank you. Thank you for coming. So up next to the last presentation, we do have a proclamation. Can we have Paulina come up to accept this? So May is Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, a celebration of Asians and Pacific Islanders in the United States. A rather broad term, Asian Pacific encompass all of the Asian continent and the Pacific Islands of Melanesia. In 1992, Congress passed Public Law 102-450, annually designated May as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. The month of May was chosen to commemorate the immigration of the first Japanese to the United States on May 7, 1843, and to mark the anniversary of the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad on May 10, 1869. The majority of the workers who laid the tracks were Chinese immigration, and for that we have this proclamation. Thank you. So before continuing, we do have an adjournment in memory of Mr. William Ketterer. He passed right before COVID. He was a West Covina resident for 54 years and served in World War II. He served as an LA motorcycle police officer. and later became the chief of security at Queen of the Valley Hospital and head of security at Kaiser Hospital. He has always served in one way or another. He worked till he was 88 years old and passed away at the age of 95 in his home. He was a best friend and hero to his granddaughter, Kieran Ketterer. So in that, we adjourn his memory. Now on to oral communication. Assistant City Clerk, how many do we have?
Good evening, Mayor. We have 23 in total. 7 of those are over the phone.
Okay, so we will limit it to 3 minutes.
Understood.
Okay.
Our first speaker is Mr. Robinson, followed by Mike Greenspan, followed by Herman.
Good evening, Council. Bill Robinson, resident. I hope it turns out that the election filing today at the City Clerk's office and the drive to qualify the election issue proves to be legally sufficient according to the California Election Code, and that it gets signed by 7,000 or more West Covina registered voters. Good luck to them. But in service to the council's health department obsession, I'd like to share. 2 weeks ago, I had just gotten the book. Now I've actually read it. The Truth About COVID-19, published last month by Dr. Joseph Mercola. It enlightened me to the fact that people don't need to join the RNA vaccination fad. I mean, we've had a rugged 14 months, and the emergency authorization of the vaccine was done, and people are volunteering to be guinea pigs in a study that we won't know the long-term effects for 2 or 3 years until after the data is analyzed for all the volunteers in our nation that have volunteered to step up. And the vaccine was an engineered product, and it may be a reaction to a virus that was engineered in a Chinese bioweapons lab, but the Chinese were being funded by the U.S. Health Department. So, I mean, the United States gets equal credit for creating the virus. I'm not trying to blame the Chinese because it came out of their lab. Reading this book will give everyone good ideas that they can share and discuss with their family doctors. Apparently, there are alternative cures for the virus. There's a medicine called hydroxychloroquine. That's a mouthful. So I wrote it out for you. Hydroxychloroquine. It's an antivirus, and it's been around for 50, 60 years. In the right dosage, taken orally early in the case history, it can be quite effective. And
thank you, Mr. Robertson.
3 minutes passes fast when you're just getting started. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Greenspan, followed by Herman, followed by Peggy Martinez.
Here's it.
Oh, can you put that in the box for me? Can you put that in the box for me? Thank you.
Cease and desist about tampering with our free speech and restricting our time from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. Okay. Now, there's lots of things to talk about, but today there's not as much time. So one of the things I want to talk about is an event that happened in the news. We've all seen it. It was a few weeks ago. They tried to unionize Amazon in Alabama. I think it's a big joke. I mean, you got to remember, these reporters have union cards in their purses and their wallets, and they think if somebody signs a card for a union election, it's going to pass. Not so. We're talking about places, this one was Alabama. There was another place in Tennessee a couple years ago. Management didn't even take a stand on it. They went back to their tennis and their golf at their country club because the Southerners don't trust unions. They look at unions as organized crime, company unions. We have a saying in L.A. about service employees, $3.99. When you go to the union with a grievance, it's like going to the company. So when the final vote happened in Alabama, 73% voted no, and only 27% voted yes. Now, I'm sure a lot of people signed cards, but it's like something a pollster told me in Florida years ago when they tried to legalize casino gambling, and they had to petition it to get on the ballot. He says they're signing the petition so they could put it on the ballot, and then they could defeat it. Well, I'm sure a lot of these union elections are sign the card, have the election, and then embarrass the union, showing them how bad they'll get their butts kicked. After all, I rode one of those trains at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport to the terminal, and a flight attendant had her bag there and had a card that said union with a circle and a slash. And she said, yeah, bring on the election so they can lose. So when you see that happening in the news media, I mean, don't even take those reporters' stories seriously. Get up and go to the refrigerator and get yourself a beer, or reach for your stash and your papers and roll up a joint, because obviously there's better things you can be doing. If you're going to see unions happening in Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, I suggest you get some good LSD, because you would have to be hallucinating. Because we talk about reality. The reality is, you union goons that do nothing but be professional union bosses, you've got two chances of unionizing the South, Slim and none. And Slim went to the airport this morning and left town. So that leaves you one other choice, none. So I just wanted to clarify it for people that actually take those reporters' stories seriously and think that you're going to unionize places in Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee. Not a chance. Thank you.
Herman, followed by Peggy Martinez, followed by Patricia Hernandez.
Well, it's apparent I got the most appropriate mask on tonight. For that reason, we find that there are hate crimes not only in West Covina, but throughout the state of California. If you haven't heard that, we got bribery going on with DMV, and we got bribery going on in Los Angeles, and we got bribery in the courts for all I know. And I bet you we do. I've experienced that type of hatred. But the FBI at 310-477-6565 must investigate the hate crime here committed by West Covina in their parking lot, because a hate crime, not only does it traumatize you, but it traumatizes the whole community, showing you what kind of persons that we're dealing with. And hate crime can be a criminal offense such as murder, arson, and vandalism, Mr. Tony Wu. So keep that in mind with your vandalism. Now, in my hand, I have this court docket, Snyder versus Phelps. I won't go into the whole point of it, because I'll leave one article for each and one of you councilmen, except for Mr. Dario, who's home with his new baby. Congratulations. However, the point I'm trying to point out, ladies and gentlemen, is First Amendment is still under attack. And why is that? Because violating your constitutional right of free speech by denying you your total of 5 minutes. And that falls under Section 18 USC 242 and 245. And I'm putting this into the record. Cease and desist immediately and allow the public to be heard. And you will sit there as elected officials and you will take the criticism, the hurtful words, and you will understand that it's the public's right to say what they have to say in their mind. Not what you decide is hurtful, Miss Lopez, or is it Jennifer Lopez? I'm confused because according to her baseball player who dumped her, there was a reason for that. Your beauty goes only so far, and you're just another player on the field being checked out. So my point here tonight is, and I'll read it into the record, just a portion of it. But, you know, Mr. Wu shakes his head. He knows the Bible, book of Romans, chapter 1, verse 26 to 27. And those of you who read the Bible and introduce the Bible here like you did some months ago, I'll read it. God hates the USA. Thank God for 9/11. America is doomed. Oh, God hates fags. You're coming and going to hell. And God hates you. Is it true? You consider that. And think about our First Amendment and our free speech here tonight. So for the record, who do I hand these on to?
You can place them in the box.
Oh, okay. Wow. We go from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. Next will be down to 1 minute. 1 minute, and your voice will not be applied any longer. How sad.
Peggy Martinez, followed by Patricia Hernandez, followed by Jerry Patras.
Good evening, Council. Anyway, today I'm coming to talk about the Health Department. May 31st is a big date because if this council, roll your eyes, if this council turns in all the paperwork to leave LA County Health Department contract, that is final. We've had that contract, West Covina's had the contract with LA County since the 1970s. So, once our initiative goes through and goes on the ballot, which it will, this West Covina Health Department will fail, just as Measure WC did. And then we will have to renegotiate a new contract with the health department. Do you think we'll get the same rates as we got in 1970, in 1922? Probably not. And then the taxpayers are going to have to pay more money. Do you care? Do you care what we think? Honestly? Because I don't think you do. This is an important thing for us. You may all think it's okay to have smaller government. That's your idea. It's not everybody's. There's 105,000 residents in West Covina, and our voice should be heard and should count. So I urge you to not turn in the paperwork, to continue our contract with LA County Health Department so we do not have to renegotiate it when our initiative passes, okay? And I have one other thing to say, and that is I watched the last council meeting on YouTube, and I was really concerned about how the Budget Committee took voting away from people who've been voting on that committee. Why? Because you didn't like the way they were going to vote? Didn't like the way they're going to vote? That's called voter suppression, okay? That's just sad. And you may have a right to do it, but it's unethical and immoral. And I couldn't even imagine how those poor people who got that right taken away from them and found out the same way all the rest of us did. Very sad, very sad.
Patricia Hernandez, followed by Jerry Patras, followed by Jim Grivich.
Hi, good evening. This is my first time here, so I'm not even sure how this goes. The reason why I'm here today is because I live in West Covina by Faith Community Church. I'm actually adjacent to Faith Community Church, and I understand that Faith Community Church sold their property to Amazon. Now, I have a reliable source that told me that they are going to build a 24-hour distribution center. And I have a lot of concerns about that because we are 100, we're about 200 apartments that are there. The majority is 188 seniors that live there. We're only 32 families that live there. And the noise as it is, that goes on, with the church being outside, and now they're inside, so it's a little bit different. But waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning to drums is not my favorite thing to do. But and believe me, I was there for 18 years. I love Faith Community Church. But I'm very concerned about, what Amazon, what you guys are going to allow. Because number one, the noise, like I said, we're adjacent to the building, and there's the seniors, and then there's the families. I actually moved from the east side of the building to the west side, which faces Faith, because of medical condition with too much noise and loudness, and too much stress. And so now I'm wondering, are they going to have a 24-hour distribution center? And if they do, what are they going to do to help us not have to deal with that noise and everything else? Because I'm all for jobs. I am all for jobs, but I am worried about the fact that I don't got $5,000 in my bank account right now to move into another place, and stuff like that. So I don't know how we do this. How do you guys keep in touch with me? How do we do this as far as finding out how I can help you in our community, as well as you guys can help us in our community?
Sorry, the CM usually will address it after.
Okay. Have your contact info.
And she has your contact.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
We don't know the project yet. So haven't come to us yet, so we don't know too much about this project. So
okay.
Go through the process. The CM will explain after everything finished.
Okay, sounds good.
So don't worry. It's going to go to proper process.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening. Jerry Patras, West Covina resident. First, I'd like to once again go on record as continuing to oppose establishing a West Covina Public Health Department. My objection is the process you're using. This is not the way government does You don't have a costs and needs assessment. You haven't done a study. You're just doing it by the seat of your pants. And that is a problem. Second, I am once again asking about the West Covina Sportsplex, formerly called Big League Dreams. I understand the plaque identifying Big League Dreams has been removed. The city currently has a financial obligation associated with that complex. What is the plan for the complex? Does the city intend to operate it? If so, how is the activity going to be funded? We residents have a right to know it's our city. Thank you.
Jim Grivich, followed by John Shoemaker, followed by Tobias.
Good evening. At the last city council meeting, I informed the council that the establishment of the health department at this time is violating the city of West Covina's financial recovery plan. Now, item number 5 on the agenda formally creates the new department. Your financial recovery plan, objective number 6, states the following, and I quote, prepare financial analysis that evaluates both the short-term and long-term financial implications of significant spending decisions. For whatever reason, the city has refused to perform the required financial analysis while proceeding to implement this new department. In short, how much money do you expect to spend on this new department? How much money do you expect to receive as revenue? Over what period of time is this going to happen? Is there a project plan to implement the department? What implementation steps are going to take place and when are they going to happen? I do not think it is too much to ask that you stick with your own financial recovery plan. You promised the state auditor that that's what you would do. It's especially ironic that this project will also require the approval of the state before it can proceed. Perhaps someone at the state level will notice that you're not proceeding as you have already promised that you would. My request at this time is that you defer this decision on this project until there is a financial plan and a project plan. Thank you.
John Shoemaker, followed by Tobias, followed by Therese Garcia.
Good evening. I'm a little confused at why everybody's being so negative about our consul. I mean, all we have to do is look at the record. Look at the revitalization of Glendora Boulevard, or Glendora Avenue, sorry. Oh, that's right, that failed. You know, look at, let's see, what else is there? Oh, look at the maintenance being farmed out to a private company that was going to save us tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. Oh, sorry, that didn't work either. We were going to build a 10 by 160 foot piece of grass that was going to bring tens of thousands of people into West Covina to party and to go to restaurants and things like, oh, that's right, that didn't happen either. We took over Big League Dreams because we can do it better. Oh, it's not open, but all their other ones are. I understand they owe us some money. I'm just going through things, and here we have a health department that you want to start, and we were promised back on February 23rd that it was going to be penciled out so we'd know what the cost is. There was one mistake. We didn't ask what year. We didn't ask what year. So that was a mistake on our part. I just go through these things. There's times, and the comments I've made in the past about what's going on in the city is, just it's stuck in my mind, Yul Brenner's line in the Ten Commandments as Pharaoh. Let it be written, let it be done, regardless of what anybody else said. And the other comment I made the other day about what's going on is that I think some people have, the philosopher Rene Descartes made the comment that, I think, therefore I am. And interpret that to be, because I think it's so, it will be so. That's not the case. I'm just looking at something that you can point to. That's a quick question. Has Sunset Field deal closed? You just shake your head or nod. Since you didn't respond to my email, can I go on the assumption that it hasn't closed either? Jeez.
Talking about the hospital one, this one's closed.
It finally closed?
Closed, and they're going to break ground in July, starting doing the expansion of emergency room. It's already closed.
Yeah, I was just, okay, so we have one. Only took 5 years. I don't know. We were going to cut down overtime in the fire department. That hasn't happened. You did fully staff the police department because you cut the number of authorized officers, so they're fully staffed. Just not what everybody thought was going to happen. So we'll go from there. Thank you.
Tobias, followed by Therese Garcia, followed by Angie Gillingham. Yes.
Good evening. First time here. Watch you guys online a lot. I met you before at the Easter. What I've been hearing a lot out here is news to me. Some of the people, what they're saying and what I've heard and discussed with Tony. I don't understand is on this Amazon thing that's going to be generating a lot of money for West Covina. It's a plus. What my neighbor was saying, noise pollution, that's a simple remedy. If it's contracted or negotiated into the plan to have all the administrative buildings facing the apartments, that will cut down on the noise pollution for everybody. San Bernardino and Badillo give a natural barrier to noise pollution because they're main highways. On the Vincent side, there's already industrial building there already, a lot of trucks going in and out. So if you negotiate it to have their loading on the west side of the property, everyone's going to be happy. What would make even a lot of people more happier is if you negotiate in the terms that all West Covina residents get priority for being hired. Okay? That would eliminate not only our kids getting off the street, but a lot of the homeless problems that are going on now. We don't have jobs. Plain and simple. You give us jobs, the money stays in West Covina. Okay? Again, there's a lot of things to negotiate because it's going to be a plus for them. They have the 210 freeway right up the road, 10 freeway right down the road. Hey, it's going to be an easy port for truck drivers to go up and down. If it goes to Covina or City of Industry, they got a lot of industrial down there. But we don't want to lose that. So if we want money in our city to fund other stuff, we got to take care of our people first. If they're happy, city's happy. If you do the administration buildings on the east side, everyone's going to be happy. And it can be done. I used to work in those places before. And again, another part of the negotiation would be all loading will be done in building, never outside, especially after sunset, when people are trying to sleep or whatsoever. They do have technology nowadays that make it very soundproof. You can't hear trucks going back and forth inside the building. So their excuse that we can't do it, no. They do have the technology. Thank you.
Therese Garcia, followed by Angie Gillingham, followed by Gabriel Padua Rodriguez.
Good evening. My name is Therese Garcia, and I'm a resident of West Covina. And I'm speaking tonight in a personal capacity. I just want to make it clear that I represent no one other than myself, and what I'm about to express tonight are my personal views. So tonight there's an ordinance before you that officially creates the Public Health Department for the City of West Covina, and I'm here to urge you to not adopt this ordinance. There is still an opportunity to change course on the decision to create a Public Health Department for our city. Many residents are very concerned about this move. Residents have expressed concerns about the necessity of this department, the feasibility, the financial consequences, the implications for the public, including businesses and schools. There are so many unanswered questions, and as with any new endeavor, there will be a period of trial and error. Is it truly in the best interest of the public and of the residents of West Covina to take all the risks associated with the creation of a public health department while we are still in the midst of a pandemic? Is it good public policy to leave the residents essentially in a state of limbo without a state-approved health department, public health department, in the midst of a pandemic? The benefits of having our own public health department seem far too amorphous to take these tangible risks. Please do not adopt this ordinance. Thank you.
Angie Gillingham, followed by Gabriel Padua Rodriguez, followed by Alana Napalo.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to go on record as opposing item 5 and your consideration of creating a health department. I'm trying to figure out what prompted the move of the health department by Council 4. I'm reading tonight's agenda. The staff report states that there is no scientific evidence or data to support the mandate in curbing of the pandemic, although well-intended. No scientific evidence or data to support the mandate in curbing the pandemic, although well-intended. Pretty ironic for this city to criticize the state and county for not providing data. when the residents have been appealing to this council for the same information, data analysis for months. The agenda goes on to say our city had low infection rates compared to other surrounding cities. Maybe the low numbers were due to the residents of our city who listened to the experts in the field of science and changed their daily habits by staying in and wearing masks. This information came from leaders who are well respected in the field of science and not a hired doctor from Alhambra. Another confusing statement was from the Tribune from TransTech, the subcontractor the council for hired. Where was the initial seed money of $95,000 to conduct the study going to come from if we hadn't received the American CARES Act of $10 million in this month? If we had the money, then why tap into the money to pay them? The city manager has stated for several months we're lacking in funds to cover improvements almost everywhere in the city. In that same article, TransTech stated that they would not be ready on 7/1. The fact that their words in the Tribune were, "This is new to all parties, and we don't expect to be up and running in all departments come July 1." Sounds like there already are some problems. And lastly, will all of the $20 million, once in the hands of the city, be used for this grand idea? Will there be monies to sustain the health department in the future? These are some of the questions the residents continue to ask but get ignored. Also, while I'm here, I oppose item number 4 of the Walnut Grove project. I hope you reconsider that and maybe you want to look at the Amazon area to meet your RENA Act numbers. Thank you.
Gabriel Padua Rodriguez, followed by Ilana Napalo. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gabriel Padua Rodriguez, and I am a resident of West Covina. I'm speaking today to voice my opposition to the creation of a West Covina Public Health Department. The plan, as presented today, is opaque, costly, and does nothing to substantially improve the lives of West Covina residents or businesses. The council has failed to provide a plan on how to properly fund the local health department, despite the fact that this city is in dire financial situations. This council feels like they can afford this political stunt. A West Covina Public Health Department will not be able to provide the same services that the county does. As a resident, I do not want my public health services to be played with for the sake of the political careers of the council. $20 million from the American Rescue Plan was given to the city in order to provide direct relief to the small businesses that have been suffering during the pandemic. However, this city council instead decided for the business owners that a redundant health department is what they need rather than directly providing that money to them. I am urging the members of the city council to reconsider this plan, do more research, provide a way to fund it, and to come back with a plan that the residents of the city could possibly get behind. Or just scrap the whole thing and look for other ways to help the city as we come out of this pandemic. Thank you.
Teresa Kozad, followed by Frederick Sykes, followed by Bill Elliott.
City Council. I had originally planned to speak in opposition to agenda items 3 and 5. 3 being the ordinance to approve the zone change for the Pacific Plan at Walnut Grove, and 5, the ordinance to approve the health department. But then I began to question, why is it I find myself up here week after week in a situation of us versus them, us being the residents and them being the city council? This us and them is creating a divide among the residents of West Covina that can no longer be ignored. If this mentality does not change, it does not matter who's on the city council or what issues arise, there will always be division and no progress will be made. I ask myself, where does it hurt? Where is there divide within myself that is reflective of the bigger divide in our community? For me, the hurt is that I do not feel I am being listened to by the very people that were elected to represent all residents of West Covina. I also know that those of you on the council must feel some hurt that is driving you to act as you do week after week. Where is the hurt? How can we restore a sense of respect and understanding for each other? I did not watch the Academy Awards, but I did read Tyler Perry's speech, and what stuck with me are two things. One, refuse to hate, and two, change what happened when we can meet in the middle. So my challenge to all of us is to refuse to hate the them on the other side, and can we meet in the middle? Can we all make a plan for this city that is based on respect and understanding of all people and include all residents in the development of the plan? Now, returning to item 3. We, the residents, were not asking for no development, but rather reduction in the number of units and a plan that respected the environment and the people that will have to live in these tiny boxes with a very limited green space. And the money, the $200,000 the developer is giving to some of the moderate income buyers will not come out of the developer's pockets, but rather the price of each unit will be raised by a few $1,000s to cover the cost. Also, for your information, the 5 native oaks that will be destroyed are considered to be one of the most important native plants in Southern California because they clean the air. If we could have met in the middle as residents, all of us, we could have had a worthwhile project. Many people have and will speak about the health department issue. Again, can we meet in the middle with respect and understanding for everyone's ideas? Share the plans so it does not continue to be an us versus them, but all of us together. We desperately need to bridge the divide that is tearing West Covina apart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Frederick Sykes, followed by Bill Elliott, followed by Ray Santos.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, City staff, members of the audience. I'm Frederick Sykes, retired Deputy Sheriff, 42-year resident and former Mayor of this city. First, regarding the maintenance districts, agenda item number 9. You know, the parks and the paseos down in the southeastern part of the city, those areas are not being maintained properly. And therefore, you need to please consider having a meeting, a town hall type meeting with those folks in their neighborhood, because it's a working class community and it's difficult for them to get up here, so that you can explain and let the residents know what the problem is. Also, hopefully, the staff will come up with a solution, and then there's usually a vote on that maintenance district area down there regarding our taxes, because just like the health department, that maintenance fund for that maintain the property there is taken out of our taxes. So they need to vote on it, a tax increase or no increase. So hopefully you will consider having a meeting to help the residents understand what's going on. Agenda item number 3, the Pioneer School Project. You know, when you don't live there, it doesn't mean much to you. And those folks who have lived there for a lifetime, they feel that they're being robbed and punished. You're changing a quiet neighborhood. You're bringing a lack of transparency of privacy in certain cases. You're adding noise, traffic. Transitional living is now being introduced to a stable community. And, you know, the public safety and school, that should have been put first. And now you're bringing that to that community. You're increasing the problem for them. Now, this health department situation, agenda item number 5. You know, the city is bankrupt. And as I stated before, there are a lot more important things that the residents are concerned about and it's not the health department. That's not number one. Number one is public safety and school safety. To us who are involved, we have to call over and over to try to get simple things done, such as dealing with the homeless situation. I had to call 3 times. We had a single-person homeless situation attached to the school, and that should not have been tolerated. It took me a week to get that thing taken care of. That's just the tip of the iceberg about the problem.
Thank you.
So, folks, reconsider no to that project. Thank you.
Bill Elliott, followed by Ray Santos, followed by Sarah Love.
Good evening, City Council. Bill Elliott, longtime resident. And I want to go on record tonight once again voicing my support for the West Covina Health Department and everything you guys are trying to do. We're so fortunate to have this City Council. Most people don't realize they're just a bunch of haters. And this City Council is leading the way, is lighting the path to the West Covina recovery that we're experiencing right now. Everybody gets up here and talks about numbers. Oh, we're the 9th worst, we're the 10th worst, we're the 11th. We're going to be number 1. The truth is West Covina's in a recovery right now. And great things are happening with the city. And I'm really thankful for each and every council member up here tonight, for your service, for the sacrifices you all make for the city. I know Brian's got a little boy. Letty, you have 2 kids of your own. Tony, yours are grown. You know, we got grandkids. It's a sacrifice. It's a balancing act. And so I commend you for that. I want to just talk for a minute about the Go West Covina bus. You know, every single time I see that bus, it's empty. It's horrible. I just see dollars flowing out of the back of that bus, out of the exhaust pipe, and it's empty. And I'm curious, does the city cover the liability insurance for that bus? I know it's a contractor that operates it, but I mean, is that our bus? Is it their bus with our markings? Is it, I mean, do we cover the insurance? I mean, is all they provide us is the driver? You know, we should get them a radio too, because there's nobody to keep them company on the bus. We really should reconsider that. I don't know what the answer is to that Go West Covina bus or whatever it's called, but it's a bad thing, and I really hope the City Council can somehow remedy that problem. I've heard a couple of ideas, and I like what I've heard, but God, whatever you do, please end that contract with that company, because, you know, I also hear the defense, well, it's coming out of a special fund. I don't care. It's tax dollars, and I'm sure that there's a choice that can be made, another option that we can use that money for better purposes than just burning up propane fuel on that bus for every single day and it's empty. And I know some people do use it, and I'm not being insensitive to them. I think there's other options. There's better solutions to that. So we can study the problem and see what we get there. As far as, let's see, the health department, the bus, there was another thing I should have made notes, but thank you again, City Council, for everything you guys are doing. You get beat up a lot, and a lot of people think that it's like a blood sport to bash the City Council when actually you guys are leading the way. And I just want to thank you, myself personally, very much for everything you're doing for the city, all of you.
Thank you.
Ray Santos, followed by Sarah Love, followed by JD.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Ray Santos, and I live in West Covina. I'm here because I want to state once again that I am opposed to the Walnut Grove project. I also wanted to kind of go back to 2 weeks ago when we had this meeting, and there was a lot of people here opposing 2 items, actually. One was the Walnut Grove project, and the other one was the establishment of the health department. And most of the people were in opposition It seemed like they gave valid points. They went through what the benefits were and what the cons were. And at the end, you guys voted for them, regardless of what all the people said, regardless of all the points that they said. You guys couldn't take another moment and table it to review what was said. I'm here for the Walnut Grove project. Again, my concern is the traffic, the safety, the density. To quote you, Mr. Wu, you said last time that you wouldn't have it in your community. You wouldn't want that in your community. Why would you want it in our community? Why would you vote for it when we didn't want it? You also stated that, it was Mr. Dario, that they were trying to get mass transportation going for a senior project or something like that, and it wasn't working because people didn't use it. And now they were trying to get Lyft drivers or Uber drivers or something like that. The reason why the Walnut Grove project is exempt is because it sits on Roland Avenue and Azusa, which is some kind of corridor where there's mass transit. Right now, the person before me just said, you see the bus empty. That person stated the bus was empty. We see the buses coming down the street, they're empty. I urge you to oppose this project, at the very least table it, review what the citizens are telling you, and listen to us on both item 3 and number 5. There was another point, but that's all. That's all. Thank you very much for listening.
Our next speaker is Sarah Love, followed by JD, followed by Minerva Avila.
All right, greetings, Mayor and Council. My first item, as far as the health department stands, it would be great to remove ourselves from the tyrants in LA County, but I'm just not seeing how that can happen. And what I'm seeing is this is mobilizing a bunch of like socialist kids and their handlers, and some are not even from our city. I got a card from somebody from Hilda Solis's office today. I think that this might push them to start flipping the districts to all left wing, and then our city, it will destroy our city. I'm seeing that it's easy to do. Okay, we saw that with the West Covina tax. It was easy to find the voters and just shoot that down. So just be mindful of that. I would love to get rid of LA County, but I just think our government is too powerful. Second item is George Gascon. Supposedly you guys are meeting with him on June 1st. I don't know if that's true or not, but why in the world would you do that? Because he's clearly stated what he would do before the election. He's doing it now times 1,000. And why would you think talking to a Soros DA who's never tried a case and has high dollar handlers would do any good? I want you guys to be brave like Azusa, Lancaster, La Mirada, Whittier, Beverly Hills, Pico Rivera, Covina, Santa Clarita, Manhattan Beach, Whittier, Arcadia, Diamond Bar. Come on. Victims come first. Okay? Third item, that guy right there. I know, he has First Amendment rights like the rest of us, and he shouldn't be limited in his speech. How much, I don't care if you don't like him or what he says or if he sings his comments or whatever. He still has his rights, and he shouldn't be have his time limit cut down. Sorry. I'm not friends with him. I'm just saying First Amendment is what I'm all about. And the Field of Dreams, come on. I have a composite bat that I would love to try out. I've never used it. My niece left it over at my house, and your Field of Dreams is closed. Why? I'm out of here.
Wait for the answer.
JD, followed by Minerva Avila, followed by James Toma.
Good evening. State my opposition to the health department. Ask the same question, wondering what costs will be, certainly with regards to the operating costs, because we know we have $20 million now to sink in maybe for the infrastructure, but what will the operating cost be? We can probably expect taxes to support this health department. Along with that, part A of that question, part B is, what services will we lose both in numbers and in quality? I couldn't help noticing driving in this evening on the back end that in the marquee it says West Covina Health Department already. Now, if we have one, great. But if it was anticipated, then I guess the invitation to come here and share our thoughts is meaningless, right? I kind of saw that same pattern with the minimum $1,000 fine for fireworks. Those signs were up on the streets almost the following day after the vote. Seems like the vote was just a formality. As far as the fireworks, I, like most residents, don't appreciate the illegal fireworks, may not even appreciate the sane ones. But the fact is that the police chief came down here and said that it's a deterrent. And in fact, it is not a deterrent because you have no enforcement. There's no enforcement of that $1,000. I'm really anxious to see after this 4th of July how many fines will be issued. This has been an ongoing problem for 24 years of my living in West Covina. The fines have existed. No one on city council has ever said how many fines were issued. Just a case here and a case there where they found a whole bunch of fireworks. They'll highlight that. They'll come up here and they'll pat themselves in the back, making it sound like they did a great job in preventing illegal fireworks. But it's not true. It seems to me that before passing ordinances and regulations that prohibit our liberties, you either make sure you have the enforcement behind it so that it's meaningful. If not, don't take my freedoms away, because you're allowing a lot of graffiti to take place 365 days a year, and you're focusing in on only one day a year, the 4th of July, and you're coming down on it with 2 feet. And it seems to me that that's really an American right, to celebrate the independence of this country. It was more than just written by white men for white men, believe me. Thank you.
Minerva Avila, followed by James Toma, followed by Brittany Ramirez. Minerva, go ahead.
Just want to confirm you can hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you, Ms. Avila.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lisa. Good evening. I'm Minerva Avila, a West Covina resident. I live in District 4. I speak tonight to urge you to vote no on Ordinance 2484, which would create the West Covina Health Department. The issue is very simple. The city does not have the funds to establish and sustain. That's key. Does not have the funds to establish and sustain a health department. A decision to move forward and approve a health department would be ethically and financially irresponsible. Many residents have already pointed this out and expressed concerns, yet you continue to push the issue forward. Somehow the majority on the city council seems to think that city control is better than county control. Yet, during this health department proposal process, the county has been a lot more helpful, transparent, and informative than the city. I appreciate the town halls put together by Supervisor Hilda Solis's office. As for the town halls put together by the city, well, there were none. The city has shared very little information about what a West Covina Public Health Department would do and how it would be financed. It's apparent that the city doesn't quite know the details and therefore cannot share much. Serious discussions have been avoided. Many questions have been left unanswered. This, along with how the city has handled its public health and the environmental responsibilities associated with BKK, serve as evidence of how disastrous, yes, disastrous, it would be for West Covina to have its own health department. I strongly urge you to vote no. Again, a decision to move forward and approve a health department would be ethically and financially irresponsible. Thank you.
James Toma, followed by Brittany Ramirez, followed by Daniel Luna. Mr. Toma?
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is James Toma. I'm commenting on agenda item number 5. That's the creation of a city public health department. So the city claimed that this process was about correcting failures during the COVID pandemic, but the city's never said how having its own public health department would have solved any of those problems or how it will solve future problems relating to the pandemic, especially when the federal and state authorities preempt local authority. The company that you're contracting with to run the city health department, Transtech, is an engineering firm that provides building services. It's not a health company, and it's never run a health department. So at the last city council meeting, the company had one of their consultants come speak to you and the public, and that consultant said that they're only prepared to do retail food inspection. They had no information about any pandemic-related public health services. And he said that the city might need to have the county provide those pandemic public health services. So what is the point of all this? Why would a for-profit company focus on food inspection? Well, it can charge fees for those inspections. It wants to make money, of course. It's not a charity. It's not a public agency. It wants to make a profit. But not all public health services make money. So who's going to pay for those needed services? The county isn't obligated to pay a private entity for services the city contracts with. The city is going to have to pay for those services, and we know from public comparisons that that can cost a lot of money. So what happens if the company walks after the contract term or folds up? There aren't a bunch of companies out there running public health departments. There aren't any. The city got one application for this contract. The county isn't going to be required to provide public health services for free to the city once the city severs that relationship, which is what it says it's planning to do. So what happens when that company comes back to the city and says, we can't provide all the additional services that state law requires without additional revenue? Because they're already hinting that that's the case. And that is exactly what's going to happen. And either you know this and you're not being honest about it with the public, or you're ignorant about how all this is going to work. I look forward to hearing your comments and explanation of how you plan to make this work as a full-service public health department. Thank you.
Brittany Ramirez, followed by Daniel Luna, followed by Sandra. Brittany Ramirez, go ahead.
Hi, it's actually Bridget Ramirez.
Sorry, Bridget Ramirez.
It's okay. It's okay. I muffled my words. Hi, yes, my name is Bridget Ramirez, and I'm a resident of West Covina. I am speaking today to voice my opposition to the creation of the West Covina Public Health Department. People have already said this, but the council has failed to provide a plan on how to properly fund this department, and despite that the city is in a dire financial situation, the council continues to ignore the community's voices against such an unwise move. The West Covina Public Health Department will not be able to provide the same services as Los Angeles County does, and all of that money from the American Rescue Plan was given to the city to help give relief to the small businesses that have been suffering during the pandemic. However, the city council has instead decided for the business owners that a redundant health department is what they need rather than, directly providing money to them. I personally would have far rather seen those federal funds go to real community needs rather than a non-existent health department. Things like creating jobs and providing food and support for local residences and businesses. I don't know if the members of the city council are afraid of being wrong or having wasted the time and money as it is, and that's why you're so determined to see this through. Rest assured, however, that it will be much worse for all of us if you do move forward with the plan as it currently is. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Daniel Luna, followed by Sandra, followed by Spitfire Ramirez.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. So based on the mayor's response to the San Gabriel Valley Tribune article on the filing of our initiative today, I'm only more confident that we made the right decision in submitting that to the city because she dismisses all the opposition that we just heard tonight and that we've heard since February to this project as, well, that's what it is. They've always been opposed. I've only heard of one individual speak in support of the health department, and if this were such a good idea, you would think that we would want it. So it appears that the majority in our city council has forgotten that they are representatives of the community or our city government. After following the push for this idea by a majority of our city council since February, I have not seen or heard any real push for this idea from the community. Instead, in meeting after meeting, most people who speak at city council meetings have outlined concerns and questions about this project. Community members ask questions about cost, implementation, planning, justifications, conflict of interest, and so forth. Our city council has not been serious about addressing any of these concerns and now seems set in establishing a health department that relies heavily on personal service contracts. The specifics about how this will be done have not been laid out. Sorry, there's a helicopter. But more significantly, many in the community are worried with costs, the timing of this project, and lack of planning since our general fund has been significantly reduced. And the state auditor has already outlined that we're in danger of possible bankruptcy. The city council may think they can count on recently designated federal funds, but such an effort does not seem prudent at this time. As such, after seeing that the community, for the most part, has been opposed, and we as community members have decided to exercise our rights under the California Constitution under Article 2, Section 8, subsection A, which outlines the initiative powers of the electors of California. So I invite everyone that once the city attorney reviews or has any ideas about things that need to be changed in our initiative, that we helps us collect enough signatures to overturn this bad move by the city council. So I thank you for your time and hope you have a good night.
Sandra, followed by Spitfire Ramirez. Sandra, please dial *6 on your telephone to unmute yourself. Sandra, go ahead.
You can go to the next one and have her on hold and just...
I see she unmuted. I think she might be having some trouble. So, Spitfire Ramirez, are you there? Spitfire Ramirez, if you can press *6 on your phone to unmute yourself. Or Sandra, I see you're on mute. You have unmuted yourself. Go ahead and talk.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. I can hear you. Is this Spitfire Ramirez?
Yeah, correct.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My heart sank and I grieve for these outstanding Minneapolis officers from Precinct 3, Officer Derek Chauvin and his co-officers. I thought his defense attorney, Eric Nelson, did a triumphant job. This was truly the biggest unethical pandering blowjob and a gross miscarriage of justice to 4 great, committed, and disciplined officers who stood firmly for the rule of law and fervently provided public service and public safety. Hell, I wish we had great public servants in Skid Row and the Music Center Grand Park and La Placita, like Officer Derek Chauvin. Moreover, Judge Peter Cahill should have declared a mistrial for having the jury pool prejudiced by the White House Democrat assholes, and 2, there was a jury pool contamination or threat if they voted in favor of Derek Chauvin. Furthermore, Judge Peter Cahill and the State Bar should have disbarred the 2 orangutan attorneys who, coupled with Black Lives Matter, the NAACP, Black Caucus, and the Black Panthers, help incite violent nigger terrorism against the American people. These are money-hungry pimps, attorneys Benjamin Crump and Jerry Blackwell. And again, George Floyd died of drug infestation and bad karma. And can you hear me?
Yes.
Bring all our beloved United States military vets home from Afghanistan. It's time to heal them and heal America. Hence, I know that they're discarding many military items and beg the military to provide me the following. I need a military. I need a generator, a Humvee, a grenade launcher, all utensils for chow, a cargo ship, a Chinook, a black stealth, and an aircraft carrier. That should help my homeless existence. And I would also like to say that Los Angeles City and LA County is submerged deeply in poverty and high crimes and homeless epidemic. Recall all city and corrupted county officials for corruption, fraud, and racketeering. Now, next item is boycott. Boycott all Jewish businesses. Put them rightfully on the street, homeless, where they belong. The satanic elite, Zionist fucking Jews, or the cabal, or the Illuminati, or the reptilian lizards are crooks, and they have basically robbed all of us of our homes, our bank accounts, our inheritance, and our livelihood. Fuck Israel. May Palestine prevail and reclaim their homeland and build their homes. Again, we need to stop funding these lazy-ass reptilian Jews of $3.3 billion a year. We need that for our homeless people in Los Angeles, Los Angeles County.
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez. Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you. God bless America. Thank you.
Caller ending in 5468. This is Assistant City Clerk Lisa Sherrick. Can you please identify yourself?
Shahrazad Shishigar.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Shahrazad.
Shahrazad, please go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
I have to. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. My name is Shahrazad, and I've been a West Covina resident for the past 31 years. I'm here to talk about agenda number 5. In previous council meetings, I have expressed my concerns about the city's decision to move forward with establishing their own health department. Despite the various city council meetings where the issue has been addressed, I continue to be concerned because the issue of finances continues to remain a mystery. How is our already stressed budget going to be impacted by this decision? I instinctively believed that the cost of starting a health department would be disastrous for our city, but I really didn't have any facts to base it on until now. I did research the issue much more and found a publication in the American Journal of Public Health in April of 2015. That study was completed in 2014 and looked at the impact of local health department consolidation on public health expenditures in the state of Ohio, and it was for a 12-year period that they looked at. Mind you that this is exactly the opposite of what the city council intends to do, which is to unconsolidate and separate from LA County. What the study found was that since the turn of the 21st century, state and local government budgets have experienced funding shortages, which is no surprise, but those shortages have forced local health departments to decrease their costs and either consolidate or decrease services. They studied those cities and counties in Ohio that chose to consolidate, meaning several city and county health departments would, be a collective. Again, this is the opposite of what West Covina is going to do. They want to separate from and deconsolidate. The other finding was that they found that the consolidating local health departments experienced a reduction in total expenditures of approximately 16%. So since West Covina is going to the opposite direction and wants to deconsolidate from LA County, it stands to reason that we could be facing a 16% increase in our expenditures. The study also showed that county health officials who were interviewed concurred that their consolidations led to financial benefits, and they also asserted that their consolidations yielded public health service improvements. That was in quotes, sorry. Consolidation actually improved health services. So we are going to deconsolidate. I urge you to vote no on agenda item number 5. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, that is the end of our speakers.
City Manager, may you please respond to the public comment concerns?
Good evening, Mayor and Council, members of the public. I will do my best to respond. We had, by my count, I think 25 speakers tonight, and I thank them all for finding the time to contribute. Number of the speakers commented on the health department. I wanted to just give a very brief update about some important meetings that have been going on so people could be aware of current status. On May the 12th, organizational meeting was held with the state health representatives. The state has assigned 3 very high-ranking officials to work with the city on this project. The city's team included Dr. Basil, the city attorney, myself, the assistant city manager, the representatives from TransTech and Constant. The state representatives included Dr. Ron Chapman, their senior counsel, Nancy Barrera, and their deputy director, Hugh Brereton. Dr. Chapman is one of the key leaders running the state's COVID program and has very extensive local government experience. The next step in that process for consideration is submittal and state review of a 12-component plan. Those are the 12 components that are required under state law for a health department to function. The city team is finalizing a plan for state review, and if I could emphasize this point, the state review and certification process is uncharted. Nobody's done this in more than 70 years, and I am at the point where we recognize that the state approval will take some time. For that reason, do not intend to notify the county of the conclusion of the health department contract by the annual June 1st deadline this year. One of the speakers, or maybe a couple of them tonight, talked about an initiative referendum. I'd like to just make a point at the outset about that. It was filed this afternoon. California as a state, and certainly the city of West Covina, prides itself on the initiative referendum process. It's a form of direct democracy, affording the voters the right to overturn government decisions, and we will follow that law quite closely and carefully and honor that process. One of the speakers tonight asked about Sportsplex. The city, for years, built that facility by issuing redevelopment agency bonds now being paid for through that successor agency process, so the debt service on the facility is still being made. The operational arrangement with the former tenant ran into some, what I will try to diplomatically characterize as landlord-tenant opportunities, and the condition of the facility fell into quite a bit of disrepair, which is now being addressed. So we're figuring that out, including the fire alarm system and the maintenance. I think on your last agenda, Council approved a initial contract for some maintenance activity for the grounds that needs to occur. It's our intention to get that open for community use. We're aiming for June, and we will announce that once we get to that point. One of the speakers asked about the maintenance districts. Those are on your agenda tonight, which is an annual process. We're following the requirements of state law. Those are going to come back, and one of the key recommendations in that process is that the city is going to need to address in the coming year the relationship between the fees collected and the cost of the services, because those two are not in alignment, and we have quite a few of ongoing requests for additional services, but the revenue that's being collected is not sufficient to support that. One of the speakers asked about the process of the application by the buyer of the Faith Community Church process. That Amazon project will be considered in due course by the City Planning Commission. We don't have a date for that yet because they're now following state law CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, and are addressing the primary impact of that project at this juncture appears to be traffic. Well, it's traffic, and traffic. It's traffic all the time. And in the CEQA process, I think the traffic engineer becomes kind of the new high priest of the process. And so we got to make sure that that's traffic is addressed in the EIR before it could be considered by the Planning Commission. So I would expect that one this summer, but when it comes forward, it'll be properly noticed and vetted at the Planning Commission. I know you've got a lot of business tonight, so I think that will conclude my report. Thank you very much.
for your city manager's report.
I will try to be brief with this one as well. Just a few things I wanted to highlight. Been getting some questions at City Hall about the transition for animal control services. We've continued to shop for options and service provision. Council awarded this contract, which takes effect July 1st, back in the hands of LA County Animal Care and Control. The current provider, Inland Valley Humane Society, will be accepting registrations and pet licenses until June 1st. LA County will pick that ball up on July 1st, and people are encouraged to either get it in before June 1st or to wait until July 1 to get their license through the LA County. Wanted to mention a couple upcoming city events that are happening this week. Tonight, you're going to get your first look at the budget. Tomorrow night, Director Byrd and I will be here to do a town hall meeting so we can spend more time dedicated on that single topic. And public is welcome to come to that, obviously, 6 o'clock. And then Thursday night, the council and the planning commission will be having a joint meeting also in this chamber. It's also at 6 o'clock to get an update from the consultant about the process of updating the housing element and compliance with new state laws. There's a food bank distribution program occurring Saturday the 22nd, 9 to noon, right here at City Hall. The last one surprised me by the volume participation. There's a lot of need. And if you're in need of some food, I encourage people to come. And if you know someone who is, I encourage you to tell them. This is my graffiti slide for tonight. We have been twice and sometimes 3 times high on the occurrence of graffiti. We continue to encourage people to use the Go Request app. We have harvested now something like 13,000 service requests, and almost all of those tend to be graffiti. We had our crews, we got so tired of looking at the Caltrans wall, we had our crews hit it, and then we found a space between the walls where they joined or didn't quite join. It was a skinny space. A guy like me would have trouble fitting through it, but the taggers were finding a way, so we blocked it. We, our public works crew put in a pole. Initially, they thought about breaking it up, but found a equally effective and hopefully cheaper alternative, and we haven't seen that graffiti come back, so fingers crossed about that. And I encourage the people citywide to continue to report. We're going to do our best to keep up with that. Our crew's been doing a really good job, but it's been as much graffiti in LA County as I believe I can remember seeing. Sorry? Oh, fireworks. As a reminder, all fireworks are illegal in West Covina, and there's a new fine schedule in effect. We've got some public information, social media posts going up. We've got some banners up, and we want to have people avoid getting those tickets, but those are one of the tools in the arsenal. I also wanted to make mention tonight, we were inspired by the great job that the police department did on their annual report, so we, with some assistance and some volunteers, et cetera, put together a 2020 State of the City report, which is now online, and we'll get a donation and get some copies of that printed, but it's a very succinct summary of all the city's accomplishments last calendar year. I think more than anything, it's a way that we were able to highlight the way that our community got through the pandemic and came together and adopted some new ways of providing service to the community. It goes through by department, and I won't read it all, but there are some really major accomplishments. In the finance department, significantly, the city issued $204 million worth of pension obligation bonds, taxable lease revenue bonds, achieved a net present value savings of some $52 million, and was able to bring the city's reserves up from what was the bottom, the low water mark of $9.8 million to $12.5 million, and better things are happening beyond that as well. In terms of the infrastructure of the city, a lot of people serve this community and do so without much fanfare, but they deserve mention and got it in our report in terms of getting with the HR and the risk management, all of the labor groups under contract, and the risk management program that's underway now is proving quite effective. Our city clerk's office, our assistant city clerk, Lisa Sherrick, has really with almost no staff, done a really yeoman's job of processing all the public records requests and subpoenas and summons and claims for damages that are just the routine business of the city. In public services, our crews have done a good job of keeping up with the sewer mains and the projects, installed some new playground equipment at Shadow Oak Park. Our community services division was continuing to take a lead in this part of the valley with the homeless planning grant application as a joint application with several of the surrounding cities, and was able to transition the ongoing programs of the city, the senior meals program, et cetera, in a way that worked for that community during the pandemic. We welcomed 511 new businesses. We were able to do some events at great social distance, and as we come out of this, we have more planned for next. Our building division processed north of 4,000 permits of all stripes, and our code enforcement division did almost 7,000 property inspections, and almost every case was able to get voluntary compliance in some small percentage, maybe 10%. Administrative citations had to be issued, but that's always a last resort. Our fire department stood up at the peak of the COVID pandemic, was running 911 calls twice high. If the normal is 20, they were running north of 40. Our police department, I mentioned they did their annual report, but they're mentioned in this one away. We added new vehicles to the fleet. Overall crime was down compared to the prior year. The one exception in that category was domestics. We also highlight what the city's COVID pandemic efforts were in terms of COVID testing, distribution of personal protective equipment, thanks to some local businesses. And then we also have in this annual report contributions by West Covina Unified, Covina Valley Unified, and Roland Unified, so it was truly a group effort. We had some grand openings for our businesses, and as mentioned, for a copy of this report, you can find it online, and we'll make some hard copies available in the very near future. I think that's all I've got for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. That report looks really great. Okay. On to, well, actually, Assistant City Clerk, can you please note the change on the staff report?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Mayor and Council, you were passed out in agenda item number 10. The highlighted items are what was revised from what is in your binder. So in the first paragraph, to adopt the following resolution, it originally reflected year 2019, 2021. The department noted that change for year 2021-22, and there was also a change to the resolution number. The department, the resolution that you will be adopting or for consideration for adoption tonight is resolution number 2021-44 for this item number 10. So your highlights are your changes. For item number 10, it's just in the staff report. Your resolutions are correct.
Okay, thank you. On to consent calendar. Council, is there anything you'd like to pull from the consent?
16 and 17.
16 and 17. Anybody else would like to pull?
2 and 5.
2 and 5. Okay. Anything else? No? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar items 1 through 17 with the exception of 2, 5, 16, and 17?
I move the motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Mayor, before roll call, I have a few ordinances to read, if you'll allow me the time.
Go ahead.
Item number 3. Title of the ordinance, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of West Covina, California, approving zone change number 20-02 and noting adoption of the Walnut Grove specific plan. Ordinance for item number 4. Ordinance number 2483, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of West Covina, California, amending the downtown plan and code. Thank you. I have a motion by Councilwoman Diaz, a second by Councilman Wu. Councilmember Tabatabai?
Aye.
Councilman Wu?
Aye.
Councilwoman Diaz?
Aye.
Mayor Lopez Viado?
With the exception of item number 3 on the Walnut Grove project, I still would say no. And the rest, yes, aye.
Thank you.
Okay, motion passes 4-0. All right, on to item number 2, pulled by Councilman Tapatapay. Go ahead, proceed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, Chief.
Sorry, but good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff, and citizens of West Covina. I'm here to answer your questions.
Fantastic. And just a resident had asked, there were 42 citations last year for fireworks, 23 safe and sane, and 19 for the dangerous. And thank you, Chief, for getting that to us. So my first question, what is the criteria for West Covina PD to actually issue the fireworks citation? So when you get the call, you come out. So what do you need to see in order to issue the citation?
We need to see the possession of the fireworks. So if someone calls and says, my neighbor shot off fireworks, and we respond to the neighbor's house, and we don't actually see the fireworks going off, or we don't see the tangible fireworks themselves, then we can't issue the ticket.
Okay. One of the things, because of the new fine is for deterrence, and I was wondering, interaction with law enforcement, is that usually an effective deterrent to future firework use? So if you get a call, you arrive at that residence, you don't see them in possession, but they acknowledge your appearance there, do you usually get calls back to that same house, or does that usually deter?
We've had both. We've suspected certain houses. The problem is you can't tell if it's actually that house, but we have made advisements and been called back to the same area numerous nights in a row. So, sometimes it's just difficult to locate exactly where the fireworks are coming from, especially if they're coming from a backyard.
Mm-hmm. The other question I had asked, and I don't know if you were able to pull the data, do we have data on how many second offense citations were given? And I was specifically thinking of the safe and sane fireworks.
We didn't issue any repeat citations last year.
Okay, so would it be safe to say then that the $350 initial citation was enough of a deterrent?
I would say for the individual that received it.
Okay. And so the last thing, on the last meeting, you mentioned that officers do use discretion, right? That's part of you as the experts. So does the severity of the fine enter into the calculus of an officer when using their discretion? Again,
it's usually based off the type of fireworks that they have.
Mm.
So some are extremely dangerous. They go really high in the air. They're usually a little bit more explosive. I'm not a fireworks expert, so I can't really get into that. But it's usually the type of fireworks that makes a difference.
Right. So I think my concern with the change in the ordinance has been the safe and sane fireworks, which don't actually go in the air. So I'm wondering that the fine is now $1,000. May that impact law enforcement's decision on whether or not to give the citation, again, considering the severity of it for the safe and sane fireworks?
Well, again, it just depends. Fireworks in the city of West Covina is illegal,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
safe and sane and illegal. So whether the fine's $350 or $1,000, if you don't do it, then you don't get the fine. There are instances where we would have discretion. Like I said, if I saw a 3-year-old with a sparkler, I'm not sure I'd issue a $1,000 fine. But if I walked in the driveway and I saw that they had a box of illegal fireworks that were a little bit more dangerous, then yes, I may issue the parents a fine. So it just depends.
Right. I think, we understand like things like driving through a red light, passing stop signs. We all understand those are illegal. I don't know that it's knowledge of how much the fines are when we do those things, right? And I'm just concerned that we may be putting West Covina PD in a situation where, because you understand the severity of the $1,000, that you may use your discretion not to give the fine, and then that leads to why is our PD not issuing fines. So I want to make sure that whatever fine we do vote to approve is something that our PD, who are the experts in law enforcement, feel comfortable with in all situations, right? Because safe and sanes are now also $1,000, and they don't shoot up in the air.
Yes, well, last year there was a schedule which allowed $350, and we issued it because that was a schedule. What you have before you now is $1,000. If it passes, then we will issue the $1,000. We're not going to try to decide what's $350 and what's $1,000 at this point. If you pass this ordinance, it will be $1,000, and that's what we will issue.
Madam?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Oh.
So basically, I would say the best thing to do is just not buy fireworks, right? I mean, that's how you can not get issued a ticket for $1,000.
For the circumstances that we are dealing with now, yes, because it's illegal.
Right.
That is where we stand. If you don't do it, then there's no subject. You're not subject to the $1,000 fine.
Right. So I don't want a ticket, so I'm not buying fireworks. What is that? I'd like to move a motion to approve.
Can I add before you?
Go ahead.
Say something?
Go ahead.
Before I second, I just want to emphasize the same thing I spoke last time. That again, people want to do a referendum. They want people to vote on something that, and the people concerned about. But again, voters already vote. I think 80%, approve that we are West Covina zero tolerance about firework. No matter it's safe and sound, safe sane, and or something, anything that's already voted on it. Our residents already say zero tolerance about any firework due to we have a lot of wood area, and then we might be burn down people's home. I speak into I love firework. I really want to see, but due to this issue, and you don't want to, because your pleasure and potentially going to harm people and burn down people's home. So and plus with the loud noise, it's really disturb a lot of pet, or senior or baby. And that is the problem. And since we already vote on it, and we already agree upon, we just have to enforce the law and order. That's what we hear about. So I will second it, to approve this motion.
Yeah, I just wanted to just make mention. I know one of the residents brought up whether it's a deterrent or not. Well, I guess it's in the high of the beholder, but of the 42 sites that we wrote last year, 26 people have paid the site. There's 13 that have not, and they're into collection. So whatever Turbo Data uses to collect those fees, that's what they would be subject to. I guess the only way we can determine whether it's a deterrent is this year if we go back to the same residents from shooting off fireworks. So we'll be able to compare it that way.
And I just wanted to say, because I do remember we had a lot of residents complaining about the fireworks, and I do recall that I was the one who pushed hard for this. And I do remember that we did make a fine of $1,000, and because there was no enforcement prior years, so last year was the enforcement. So thank you for giving us the stats, and thank you, Mr. Tabatabai, for explaining. I remember you gave it to me, but I didn't write it down, so I'm glad you shared that with that. So we did fine, but I do remember that enforcement does happen, and we are enforcing it right now, and so.
I would also like to add that the banners that you see up at 2 locations in the city, it does say $1,000 on it. Those banners were the same ones we used last year.
Yeah, because I do remember that we wanted to make sure we promoted, and
yes,
that
my date was to put it up
banner.
As soon as possible so that we can get the word out that fireworks are legal in West Covina.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor, may I make an amendment to the motion? I would just, based on the chief's data that there were no second offense citations for the safe and sane fireworks, I'd like to amend that the fine schedule for just the safe and sane fireworks maintain as they were last year. So that's the...
Safe and sane causes noise, loud noise, correct?
There are some sound to it. I mean, it's fireworks. If you light a little cherry bomb off, you get the lights. There's a small sound to it. I don't know what all is considered safe and sane, so it could cause some amplification of sound.
I know the main concern that the residents had was the noise, the explosion, and if Safe and Sane causes that, then it's the same thing. But do I have a second for the amendment? No, seeing none, then either it's accepted or not. We have a motion and we have a second, and that's it.
Roll, please.
Roll call.
Yeah, I have a motion by Councilwoman Diaz and a second by Councilman Wu. Councilmember Tabata, excuse me, before I take roll call, I need to read the ordinance. For item number 2, ordinance number 2481, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of West Covina, California, amending subsections B and C of Section 15-68, administrative fines of Article 3, fireworks, of Chapter 15, miscellaneous provisions relating to public health and safety of the West Covina Municipal Code. Councilmember Tabatabai.
No.
Councilman Wu.
Aye.
Councilwoman Diaz.
Aye.
Mayor Lopez Viado.
Aye. Passes 3-1. Okay, on to item number 5, Councilman Tabatabai.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for recognizing me. I have a few questions for staff. Good evening, City Manager. Today you shared some new information with residents, so my questions may be just a rehash of what you've already said. But according to TransTech, when we contracted with them, they stated it's impossible for a full-blown, full-service department to be created and operational by July 1st, and yet the ordinance contradicts that statement. So can you explain the disconnect between TransTech and what we're voting on tonight?
Through the chair, I'll try to answer. The health department is about a healthy community, about providing a higher level of service than the city is now receiving. The state law requires a 12-component department. Not every city in this state or every jurisdiction in this state provides all 12, but it seemed that the comprehensive approach was the better approach. The easiest division to stand up would be environmental health. I mean, we're in the regulatory compliance business. I mentioned in the highlights report for last year, we issued 4,000 building permits of all kind. We get compliance with codes. We know codes and know how to do that. That's completely a normal function for this city and for other cities. Actually, that one piece of the 12 in many jurisdictions in California is housed elsewhere organizationally other than the health department. But if you look at the depth and breadth of the state-mandated components, the goal is to get state approval of a health department that provides all 12 comprehensively and interactively. In terms of the ordinance in front of you tonight, the ordinance that's been in the municipal code since literally 1975, it's never updated to reflect the new codes, makes West Covina a municipal health department. And as I understand it, I'll defer to the city attorney for clarification, we would continue to adopt all of those same codes, and we would continue to contract with the county for those services until we get state approval for the comprehensive 12-component plan.
Madam Mayor, if I can add, we need to have this ordinance on the books because it is the intent of the City Council to create this health department, and as we do that, we are complying with this ordinance.
Okay. So it's also my understanding that TransTech will be hiring the public health director. Do we have a timeline from TransTech when that would occur?
I expect that to occur this month.
Okay. Are we anticipating Dr. Basil Vasenchart will be named to that position?
I am expecting that, yes, Dr. Basil will be in that role. There's a lot of aspects to that contract that are in progress in the city attorney's office and need to be resolved before we splash ink on it with a signature which has been authorized.
Okay. It was mentioned by a resident, and I had it here in my notes. Our contract with TransTech is for a year with an option. What happens in a year if TransTech and they were the only vendor, or other vendors decide this is not a profitable endeavor? Will the city be in the position we currently find ourselves with the West Covina Sports Complex, which, again, are we going to find ourselves now having to run the health department?
Through the chair, I assume that since the majority of the environmental health component is fee for service, if we evaluate that as a matter of public policy, as the contract is enacted and administered, that those fees are set too high or set too low, we'd need to have an honest conversation about what fees are reasonable. Under California law, the fees have to relate to the cost reasonably borne in the provision of the service. Just looking at the fees, they seem high to me. We've adopted the county fee schedule just straight across, and I think that division of the 12 components, branch number 5, is probably the one that's the easiest to administer and to take over. There are some cities that just do that one. I think the approach is to go for all 12.
Right. So the question is, considering that the 11 are not fee for service, and according to Pasadena and Long Beach, they've had to use their general fund monies in order to continue providing all 12 services. Is the city currently financially in a position that we could take over the other 11 components if the vendors find that this is not profitable?
Well, we don't know yet the exact extent of the state approval or what specific programs will be required under each of the 12 chapters. We will report that to council once that is resolved. If you look at the life cycle of a policy, the initiation phase, the estimation phase, the selection phase, the implementation phase, we're in one of the earlier phases right now. This is an undertaking which has required a lot of effort to get to this point, and will require a lot of effort to take it to the implementation stage. So I will report back to the council and the community once we have those pieces identified and addressed.
So according to our financial recovery plan, item number 6, which was mentioned, we were going to have our long-term fiscal planning before we went into any of these types of ventures. So does the process we're using now, does that fit with that financial recovery plan that we've laid out to the state auditor?
The state auditor wants the city to look before it leaps. I believe that's what we're doing. In terms of the depth and breadth of all these different aspects, those are still things which are being addressed and being resolved. Once we have that in better focus, we will report to you in terms of the cost implications and the revenue implications. One of the things we haven't talked about yet is our ability to compete for direct state subventions, which are automatic under state statute, and also to compete for grants and to avail ourselves of state and federal funding opportunities that come to local health departments. Let's just pick one, the maternal care and early childhood piece, the WIC program, Well Infant Care. That's a well-established and well-funded federal program that as an independent health department we could participate in. So I'm not going to be able to answer all of those chapters yet. It's going to take some time.
Okay. Last question. the other concern I had was TransTech stated that there would be issues with the rollout. So did TransTech communicate what those issues would or could be? And so I just wanted to give some examples. We experienced some complications with licensing and fees when we went to Inland Valley Humane Society. Some residents were charged double. They had paid county, and then Inland Valley charged them again. So is it possible that our businesses could be double charged? Another example would be our schools as part of the environmental health piece. The cafeterias would need to be inspected. If the county doesn't supply the information to TransTech in a reasonable time, is it possible that schools could start without cafeterias to begin the school years because they haven't been properly inspected? Does the other kind of complication I see is in the city of West Covina, over 60% of the residents speak a language other than English. Does TransTech have the capacity to disseminate information in the multiple languages spoken, Spanish, Mandarin, Tagalog, right? So these are all kind of the issues with transition, and I'm wondering, did TransTech communicate what those issues could be, and have we asked about these so we can make sure that the residents feel comfortable?
Through the chair, I think I've participated in every single meeting on this topic that's occurred to this point. And so there are some startup issues that need to be addressed whenever you begin any enterprise. We're trying to move directly and in accordance with state law. Trying to take your questions one in an order, do I expect that businesses would be overcharged? I'd be surprised if my local businesses would suffer in silence were that to occur. They'd probably let their city manager know. I don't see those downsides because we'd need to run the department correctly and well, would need to be well administered. And those scenarios that were described, I think, would be the opposite of a well-administered department.
So did they mention what issues then that they were referring to? Just because that was in their contract. They said there was going to be issues with transition. I was just wondering if they were more specific.
Madam Mayor, this is second reading of the Health Department ordinance. If we could kind of stick to that instead of getting into the TransTech.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Okay.
This is second reading. Thank you. Councilman Wu, you had a question?
Yeah, I see. We have been talking about this numerous times, okay, and the people continue to say they don't understand. And we already see the budget. Basically, we have the hearing about, okay, and the presentation about even Pasadena, okay, and the Long Beach, including county. Okay, their budget is 50% federal funding, okay, 20-some% is state funding. And then about 10 to 15% that is a fee rendered, and plus some of the miscellaneous this and that, okay, even from donation. So this we know this is from all other entity they have less. So I don't want to repetition talking about that we're going to bankrupt the city, this and that. We're going to, if we approve, we're going to bring $15 to $20 million to the city. And not only that, you're talking about. I don't want to be focused about this, but I want to answer some of the question. Accountability regarding if the cafeteria or some of the with our inspector, they can complain to the city right away. We can right away go over there, resolve the issue instantly. Now, right now, we have no idea who to talk to and this and that. That's all the complaint we have. But that is not the issue. The issue is how can we protect the community and save life for now current pandemic and future. Okay, we do this. We have no benefit, but we try to see what we can do, bringing direct funding into, we can swiftly to taking care of the disease outbreak. We can swiftly to make sure our doctor group can take care of the situation that possible will become an outbreak. Currently, the county is too big. So I don't want to continue to talk about this. I want to move the motion to approve. Thank you.
And I will second it.
Madam Mayor, can we have some
Second reading, though, and stick to this, though.
Is there an opportunity to to discuss? Okay, thank you. Yes, so as far as again the second reading of the establishing of the health department, I guess I'm a little unclear because of the statement the city manager made following the public comments, where he said, again, it doesn't appear that by the May 31st deadline, we would be able to.
This is in regards to this.
Right, right.
The
So,
exact question for this second reading.
yeah, so we're voting to establish, right?
Point of order. Okay, I request to roll call, please.
One quick question. Quick,
Okay.
please. Pertaining to this second reading.
Once we establish this health department after the second reading, is there any last action the council will have to take prior to May 31st?
Madam Mayor, now, this is second reading, this puts it on the books. In 30 days, this will be effective.
Yeah, this is not.
But I believe in our recital or in part of the section, it says July 1st it's effective.
All right.
That's the only difference.
We'll go ahead and do the roll call. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Before roll call, I need to read the ordinance title. Ordinance number 2484, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of West Covina, California, repealing and replacing Article 1 in general of Chapter 13, Health and Sanitation of the West Covina Municipal Code to establish a public health department. I have a motion by Councilman Wu and a second by Councilwoman Diaz. Councilmember Tabatabai?
No.
Councilman Wu?
Aye.
Councilwoman Diaz?
Aye.
Mayor Lopez Viado?
Aye. Motion passes 3-1. On to item 16 by Councilwoman Diaz. Go ahead, proceed.
Thank you. So this is, let's see, considering the appointment of the Assistant City Manager, Paulina Morales. I just want to say that Paulina Morales is very well-rounded, and I know she wears many hats. I know she's always busy, and I know that she started back in 2004 as an intern, and after 2 years, she was promoted to an economic development specialist for 22 months. Then she was promoted to a project manager for 5 years until she got laid off. And we brought her back in 2013, thank God. And in 2016, she was promoted to an economic development and housing manager. And finally now, she is the acting assistant city manager. And I just want to say that she is we are very fortunate to have Paulina working for us. I mean, she has a wealth of experience and talent, and I admire her hard work and dedication to the city and to the residents. And I just want to say that I'm going to vote yes to this. I think she's well deserving of this, and I hope that everyone else, the rest of my colleagues, will agree.
Hey, thank you for put this item. Okay, I was thinking about just like slip through, so nobody.
Oh, sorry, but I think she deserves it. I'm sorry.
But I know Paulina for, I don't know, 10 years, maybe even longer. Okay, when I hear helping some of the project, and Paulina is always there. And I think this is what's so-called persistent. Okay, you stay with city as an intern, and then 17, 18 years. And longevity of your hard work, and of course, you still have a room for improvement. Okay, including myself. Okay, I have a lot of flop. Okay, so but I want to say, okay, and you continue to improve yourself, and now you have our city manager. Okay, recognize your value and bring you into this assistant city manager. I think this is some kind of dream job of you 18 years ago joining city of West Covina. So I want to congratulate your success, and I want to see all the city staff that they understand, okay, the city will take care of our staff. If you work hard and you're persistent, okay, and we will appreciate, and if we have any chances to promote you, we will try our best. Okay, and the hard work person, especially right now, we want to tell all the staff that we appreciate their hard work, and then especially Paulina is one example. Congratulations, and I will second your motion to approve. You have a first. You have a.
Thank you.
You moved already, right? Yeah.
I just want to say thank you, Paulina. I know residents would say, you cleaned house, you removed everybody on the staff, but there's living proof that she has been here for many years. She's still here. So she does have the institutional knowledge that she shares with us with previous administration and everything. So thank you. We hope you stay. Yes, like Councilman Wu says, always room for improvement and keep working hard. So thank you. Oh, would you like to say something?
Yeah, definitely.
You're getting praise today then. I didn't expect that.
I'd also like to thank Paulina because we have been understaffed and you carry many hats. And we appreciate all the hard work. And you're at all the events and you are here on late nights. And I see you at the Planning Commission also. And so we appreciate it and well deserved.
Thank you. So we have motion and a second. Roll call, please.
I just want to confirm I have a motion by Councilwoman Diaz and a second by Councilman Wu.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Tabatabai?
Aye.
Councilman Wu?
Let me think about this. Aye.
Councilwoman Diaz?
Aye.
Mayor Lopez Viado?
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. On to item 17, pulled by Councilwoman Diaz. Go ahead.
I'll try to be quick.
No worries.
Okay, well, this is an issue that bothers me so much about spending this $1.2 million over a 3-year period. I just wonder, and what is it, $243,000 per year? I just wonder if there's any way, or I would like the staff to conduct some sort of a survey to find out if it's worth it for us to spend the money on contracts versus maybe hiring some maintenance. We did let go of 22 maintenance workers back in 2017 or 18. And it just seems like a lot of money to me. And I'm just wondering, can we conduct a survey and maybe table this so that we can do a study and find out if it's beneficial for us to move forward with the contract for 3 years and tie ourselves down to that?
Go ahead.
Through the chair, if I may answer. This item returns to the council. You asked us last time to rebid it, and we did. And so we were recommending the apparent most qualified low bidder here. If you think we need some more work on this and you want us to do a comparative of this contract model, which has been this city's historic way of providing these janitorial services versus city force account in-house staff, we could certainly do that. We could do some more work on this and return with that comparative for you.
Okay.
My impression is that given we have to compete in the labor market for wages and our full-time employees also get benefits not always enjoyed in the private sector, that the in-house model would be more costly.
Okay.
But if you want to see a comparative, I'd be happy to take your direction.
I would like to
refer this back to staff. I'll bring it back.
I would like to see a comparison, and then when it comes back, maybe we can revisit it where we can only allow a 1-year contract as opposed to 3 years.
I understand.
Yes. You want to table it?
Yes, I want to table this.
Do I have a second?
I will second it, but I agree. I think. Your presentation? Sorry.
Sorry, I do have a presentation. I have some rough figures regarding in-house that I can go over.
Oh, wonderful.
If that's okay, or
yeah, go ahead. We can go ahead if we have the information. And I think I remember Mike Cressup present this and the details with, especially why this, because I agree with you. Like, why was this vendor chosen compared to the other one? But I know that from what I remembered, is that there's security clearance and all this stuff because they do go into like the police and they clean, certain confidential items and everything. But but go ahead, proceed.
Okay. So just a brief overview. We did do 2 RFPs. The second RFP, we did receive 16 proposals. And you can tell the difference here between the proposals or companies that submitted a proposal in the first one and the second one, if they increased it or decreased their bids. United Maintenance, the company that we're recommending we go with, it's the current vendor. They did not change their fee for between the first and the second RFP. So as Councilwoman Diaz mentioned, we have some options. Staff is recommending we go with United Maintenance Systems. We could go with another vendor. An in-house alternative would cost the city approximately $247,000 in staff cost. That staff cost alone. That doesn't include, and that's part-time at minimum wage. That does not include any of the supplies or equipment that the vendor provides for the 263, I believe that they're proposing, 243,600. So, that would be slightly more costly just on the staff cost, and it does not, like I mentioned, include supervision supplies. As Mayor Letty mentioned, that we would have to go through a background check with any part-time staff that's hired to do the police department. It doesn't include the quarterly or annual additional cleaning services at the buildings, which include the window cleaning, spot carpet cleaning, and waxing. Nor does it include the 24-hour emergency response. So these are just, like I said, a rough estimate of based on minimum wage part-time staff for janitorial services.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, well.
I actually had a question. They might not have reduced the fees, but did they reduce staffing?
No.
So they kept everything the same.
Mm-hmm.
How many staffing do they provide?
It depends, and I think if Mike
is here,
be able to help assist. But it depends on each facility, the number of staff for each.
Or like the total staffing that they provide to us.
The total staffing levels. Every facility is a little bit different. At City Hall and PD, it's very defined. The porters and everything PD needs, it's 2 to 3 people at a time, 2 people in the evening. There's a porter here during the day, so there's one person here in the morning from 8 to 12 all the time. The other facilities, it's 2 people at a time. When they hit, they break up into teams. They have 2 different teams. One might go to the Yard, Palmview, and the Senior Center, and the other might go to Cameron and Shadow Oak. I don't know their exact schedule off the thing, but they provide, all contractors were asked to provide a schedule with what they propose and what's going to be there. So 2 to 3 people per facility.
And well, when you said in the morning, 8 to 12, I mean, it seems like they're providing part-time. Do you know the total hours that they provide to the city combined with all of the staffing?
Off the top of my head, I do not know.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else have questions? Go ahead.
Mike, I have a question. So before the previous city council majority layoff the 22-hour orange shirts public worker, the staff, in 2018. At that time, and did they perform all this cleanup, janitorial, service?
The employees that were laid off in 2018, this was not duties that they did. We have never, ever had staff do janitorial. Janitorial in my time here has always been contracted. There's been times where we've had different companies do different things. For a while, we had Valley Light do our community centers, which Valley Light does our bus shelters now, and they're a company that works with disabled individuals to come through and do work like that. But because of work schedule and things like that, we weren't able to accommodate anymore. But my entire career here since 2002, we've always had janitorial contracted.
So is this the one of the company you confidence that is a fair price and doing a good service?
I believe that they do. I do believe they do a good service.
We used them before.
We've had them for 5 years.
Is there a current?
Yes.
Joe is one of them.
Joe is our employee. Joe spot cleans and does different things, and he does the city manager's office and HR. So this company is not responsible for those 2 offices.
Huh?
And city clerk's office.
For confidential issues, so we use our own. So Joe is our staff.
Correct.
Yeah, I've been seeing him for 5 years. And so that's why I'm kind of wondering. I think it's our staff or they belong to the contractors.
No, Joe is our staff. He works for us, and there's those, the confidential areas that we have him clean and do. He does odds and ends for us as well. So he's an extra set of hands. He works great for us.
Yeah, he's doing a good job. I see every time we have a meeting, he always over there doing the good job. And how about the police and fire? That basically we contract out, and they have to be met with the credential to serve, to clean up that kind of sensitive area.
That is correct. And in this process, we brought PD. PD was brought into the equation as well. Captain Plunkett sat on the panel. They are a big portion of this contract. I mean, they get the most time and they have the most needs as far as days of the week and how much they need, how much attention they need because of the jails and that matter. So they were a major factor in the decision making. And as a team, we came up that this would be the best provider.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Councilman Tabatabai.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for giving me the floor. First off, I wanted to thank you for the great job that you guys did at Shadow Park. Looks fantastic. The tower is awesome. And then for providing dirt for us at Del Norte, we filled those holes at the dog park. And I just wanted to make sure I said that. My question was, and it was about the PD. So the PD feels very, very comfortable with this company, and for the 5 years, they felt secure with having them in the facility?
Yes, we haven't had any issues. They've been responsive, and the person there has done an excellent job for them. And I believe they're not here now, but yes, they were part of it. That was the main question we asked.
That's it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Anybody else have questions?
I would just add that I noticed that they are the least expensive because dynamic building declined. But it's just so much money.
Square footage wise,
a little bit, or you want to table it?
Well, if they already did a study, I think that it is what it is.
If your repetition study will be the same, or you can have a different number?
The numbers were based, like I said, on part-time staff, so and minimum wage, and based on the services that United Maintenance provides now. Like I said, minus the supply equipment.
I don't know what else we can do. You want to work? Want to empty trash cans?
I already clean up my office. I'm the janitor of my office.
Last question is, during COVID, when a lot of the facilities were shut down, were we still paying them, or did they reduce their hours, and do we get to save money on the cost?
No, we saved money. We cut, don't hold me to the number, but it was approximately $122,000. Anything that was not open, we closed down. We have not brought janitorial back. We're hoping that everything opens June 15th.
So we didn't have to keep paying them.
No, they worked with us through the whole process, and basically all we kept was City Hall and PD. Everything else we took out of the contract.
Okay, so we did save costs.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, it's, I believe, $88,200, or roughly $12,600 a month.
Sounds good.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead, Councilman
Okay,
Wu?
do we need a 3-year contract?
That's been our standard contract, 3 years with 2 1-year extensions. I personally think it's a double-edged sword because obviously we're up here talking about labor quite a bit. We don't know where labor is going to go in the next few years. Right now,
But they always can come back and say, we cannot afford it. We want to rescind the contract. We want to renegotiate the going up. It happened to our tree trimming. Okay, all this company, they're always coming back to say, I want to abandon the contract. How many times? So I don't think even a protect contract, but at the meantime, we have a long contract. We don't like their service, and we're stuck with them.
Obviously, I've been doing maintenance for 2.5 years. I understand your point. I think tree trimming is a little bit different in the sense that prevailing wage is something that's dictated more. This is not prevailing wage work. So that is very much a possibility, but I don't think that's as likely in this contract. But you definitely bring up a valid point.
Okay, I think maybe 1 year too short for just, the service. So maybe I can, revise to 2 years. And, maybe 2 years, 2-year contract.
Madam Mayor, this contract 4.1 says that the city can terminate with or without cause with 15 days notice. What's that?
So could you?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I can hear you with the
Is this on?
Yeah, it is on.
The Section 4.1 of the contract they're approving allows the city to terminate with or without cause within 15 days notice.
Meaning we can terminate them if they don't perform.
That's correct.
At any time.
Okay, 15 days, so 3 years.
And they have to adhere to this, so they can't come back next year and state, well, labor costs more, we need to increase. Like, this is set. Like, if we agree with
He has no control.
Yeah, I don't want to give an answer. I don't want to complain on that. I think it's highly unlikely, but anything is possible. I'm sorry, I can't tell you 100% for sure.
Guess we'll just deal with that when it comes forward.
Okay, I think, since like they are trying to sell this so much, they're so confident about this, and I move the motion to approve with the same like what they offer.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have a motion by Councilman Wu and a second by Councilwoman Diaz. Councilmember Tabatabai?
Aye.
Councilman Wu?
Aye.
Councilwoman Diaz?
Aye.
Mayor Lopez Beato?
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Okay, and that ends the consent calendar. Okay, department regular matters. Item 18, consideration of West Covina sewer service charge setting a public hearing date on the method of collection and fee increase. Mr. Carmody, who will present the update?
Paulina Morales will present this report.
Okay, go ahead, proceed.
Thank you. So the presentation will include both the item 17 and 16, the citywide lighting and maintenance district, as well as the citywide sewer district. So the assessments, these are all of the, I believe, 7 assessments that are assessment districts within the city of West Covina. Items LMD1 and LMD2, 4, 6, and 7 were on the consent calendar. And then we are doing the report for the 2 citywide ones. As you can see, of the 7 districts, only 2 are operating with a surplus. 5 of the districts are operating at a deficit. The lighting district rate is at its highest allowable rate. The sewer district was approved to be increased by 5%, which it's being proposed to be increased this year, or this upcoming year. LMD 1, 2, 4, 6, and 7 rates are not being proposed to be increased this upcoming year. Staff is actually working with the consultant Wildan, and we plan to address the maintenance levels for each district and evaluate if an increase in rate is warranted
I'm
for
sorry,
each district.
Weldon is not Transtech?
Wildan does the districts, the assessment districts.
Weldon still in picture with us?
Yeah.
So we already terminate them?
They've been doing, I believe they've been doing this for several years. It was a separate agreement.
When the contract up, do we
I would
have a
have to-
contract with them? Because I even don't know. We have a contract with them with the sewer.
I'm sorry, I don't know off the top of my head. I can provide that information.
So maybe we need to review the contract with Weldon and how much it charges us.
Mhm.
What they're doing, what sewer, what Transtech cannot do this. Because when Weldon, we have a bad experience with the building and safety. So I don't know how can they perform this would be better.
I can see when the contract is up.
How long they be with us doing this sewer thing?
I believe the last 5 years.
Are you sure it's 5 years?
Mike, do you know? Yeah, sorry.
This is an engineering function, so it's part of that. I believe it's not 100% wrong. I believe this is the last year on that contract, so this is going to have to go out to bid. And how we do our engineers.
This is last year, right? It's not
Yes.
5 years. I know before I've been here for almost 6 years. I don't remember Weldon's doing this thing.
Wilden has done. I can't tell you for how long, but Wilden has done these reports for quite some time. The last 2-3 years off the top of my head, I can remember as I've been involved. Obviously, whether or not they're still, we can obviously look into termination as well. I'm pretty sure the contract has the
It would
same
be
clause.
better, okay, since the engineering, what can we do with our, Transtech if they can do better job or maybe cheaper? I don't know, okay, so maybe we need to do a survey, see is that better? Because again, due to the past experience last year about welding service, so we have a concern. But if they do a good job, we're okay. When mentioning Weldon, I'm just thinking about they already all the pictures. It's just curiosity. Okay, so maybe, city manager can bring this contract.
Through the chair, we can look at it. I do not believe, I don't recall that TransTech does assessment district engineering.
Okay,
So it's
understand.
even more of a specialist within the umbrella of city engineering. But we could look at when this contract concludes, and we could shop it again. I don't know.
We just want to have
There's
a
other
good
firms.
engineer company do the good service with a good price. That's it. Okay, and Weldon or any other company. Okay, as long as. But again, when you mentioned Weldon, she meant okay. I'm just a little bit worried about due to previous issue. Thank you. Sorry. This. Okay, you could continue, please.
Okay. So I'm going to, I will cover the 7 districts and cover and discuss what the maintenance includes and what's included in the district. So LMD1 is on the south side. It's by Amar and I think Shadow Oak Drive. The District 1 includes parklets and paseos. The district pays for the lighting, landscaping, and tree maintenance. Just as we go through these photos, keep in mind that the districts account for the maintenance of the landscaping 3 feet from the curb, 3 feet clearance from the housing. Trees are addressed on an as-needed basis and as the budget allows. These trees within these districts are not included in the tree trimming cycle. In addition, the landscaping can only address shrubs or plants that are no more than 6 feet high within their clearance area. So it's over 6 feet, they can address it. So this is LMD2. It's, I believe, adjacent to LMD1. And then as you can see in these photos, the landscaping area right here, it's 3 feet from the clearance from housing, residential. And then no more than 6 feet, 3 feet from the sidewalk. LMD2 is also on the south side from La Puente Road all the way up to Azusa and Amar. District 4 includes parklets, paseos. The district pays for the lighting, landscaping, and tree maintenance as well. More pictures of the paseo, as you can see. Once again, shrubs and plants up to 6 feet trimmed, 3 feet from the sidewalk, and then the clearance. They also do the landscaping for the, like I said, parkettes. LMD6, it's on Grand and Cameron, and this is the one that, like a view from Cameron, and once again, 3 feet from the sidewalk, up to 6 feet, and here's the side from the side view.
Sorry, Paulina? Question. Is that for Agenda 19, or this is still 18?
I'm just doing an overview of all the districts. Okay. But we will get to the citywide ones, I promise. But yes, they will come back. 4, 6, and 7 will come back for a public hearing June 1st. The citywide will come back June 15th.
Are we doing the 18?
I mean, 18 is the sewer.
I think sewer, we just asked why, and now we certainly went to.
And then that item 19 is the citywide lighting and maintenance district.
So that will come back June 15th for the public hearing.
Well, how about 18?
18, because we haven't.
Sorry, the 18th. I'm thinking this month.
No. I meant agenda item 18. This is still the sewer.
So this is, I'm getting there.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I just wanted to give a brief overview of the different districts.
Okay.
So then the last district, 7, includes the hillsides and 1 parkette. The district pays for the landscaping and trees. And also district, 6 includes hillside and trees as well. So then we have the citywide districts, which is lighting and maintenance and the sewer. The lighting and maintenance district is what you guys have approved for the 7-year trim cycle. It includes also the median maintenance. The sewer district includes sewer maintenance, routine maintenance, and repairs as needed. The sewer master plan is done every 5 years, and the last master plan was approved in 2017. The sewer district plan also pays for sewer-related capital improvement projects. So these are some of the equipment that our maintenance staff uses for the sewer districts. And then this is the 7-year trim cycle that the citywide district pays for. It includes, like I said, trees in the medians and right-of-ways, 8 feet from the sidewalk, park maintenance, including graffiti removal. And so This is just an overview. Districts 4, 6, 7, and both citywide will come back for a public hearing for approval to levy the assessments. If you have any questions, I'm available to answer.
Council, any questions? Do I have a motion to approve?
We approve which one?
This is 18.
18, right?
Agenda item 18.
17 and 18.
Regarding the sewer collection, the fee increase. So now you're talking about outer district, maintenance district. Now we know they're coming back. Say because you have increase of fee, okay, and you're talking about widens, okay, service. So that's why I want to continue. I interrupt you, but
sorry.
Yes, okay, and then when you come back, you went to the citywide lighting and maintenance district. That's 19. But we haven't finished 18 yet, right?
Sorry, I mentioned in the beginning I was going to cover both citywide districts.
Got it. So you want to do 18 and 19 together?
Yes.
That's why I get to the Twilight Zone. I say, what am I missing? Because I asked one of 18, okay, about why then I come back, it went to the 19. So I'm missing the gap of my time. So I would think about I stone out or something.
Yes.
But do we?
Tonight is the intention to levy and to bring back to set the public hearing.
So this is just try to announcement, and then next time we go to the public hearing because you have a fee increase.
Correct.
People need to because fee increase. You need. That's why my concern is if you have fee increase, you need to have a audience, okay, or resident to have an input.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
So there will be public hearings for all of the districts.
Okay.
So do we need to approve it?
Yes, we need to approve it.
Yes. I need a motion for item 18.
Okay, yeah, let's move the motion to approve.
So 18 and 19, right?
Just 18 at this
Just
point.
18.
Yes.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Diaz and a second by Councilmember Tabatabai on item number 18. Councilmember Tabatabai?
Aye.
Councilman Wu?
Aye.
Councilwoman Diaz?
Aye.
Mayor Lopez Viado?
Aye, motion passes 4-0. On to item number 19.
And then if...
Oh.
Yes, I wrote that, yes. So I need a motion for the first resolution, 2021-48.
So do I have a motion? Because you've already...
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second? Okay, go ahead. You want a second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
So I have a motion by Councilmember Tabatabai and a second by Councilwoman Diaz for resolution 2021-48. Councilmember Tabatabai?
Aye.
Councilman Wu?
Aye.
Councilwoman Diaz?
Aye.
Mayor Lopez Viado?
Aye, motion passes 4-0. On to the second resolution.
Yes, so I need a motion for resolution 2021-50.
Second resolution for the same item number? For the different resolution?
Different resolution number, yes.
2021-50.
I'll make the motion.
I have a
I'll second it.
Okay. Roll call.
I have a motion by Councilmember Tabatabai, a second by Councilwoman Diaz. Councilmember Tabatabai?
Aye.
Councilman Wu?
Aye.
Councilwoman Diaz?
Aye.
Mayor Lopez Viado?
Aye, motion passes 4-0. On to agenda item
20.
20. Where's that? So who will make the presentation? This is the preliminary fiscal year budget.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Robin and I were going to do this in two-part harmony with the plexiglass is getting in the way, so I'm going to ask her to give the entire report. We have a PowerPoint to present to you tonight.
Okay.
Thank you, City Manager Carmody. It's my pleasure tonight to present the preliminary 21-22 budget. Just a little overview. First, we're going to go over what the budget assumptions were. Then we're going to look at all funds. And one of the things that's different in this year's budget from the previous years that I've been here is I've tried to include all funds that the city has in the budget where previously there were certain funds that were not budgeted for. And we have made that correction. I believe that the city council should approve all of those budgets. Previously, they were brought back to you piecemeal as grants were received, and I've never done a budget that way. And I didn't correct it the first 2 years because of other reasons, but this year we've corrected that, and I think it's a more complete and transparent document. Then we're going to move on to the general fund revenues and expenditures and talk about that for a few minutes, and then we'll look at the capital improvement program. We'll talk about what our next steps are, and I'll save some time at the end of the presentation for some questions. Just wanted to review where we've been for over the past year. I'm sure none of this is news. We March 16th, 2020, the COVID pandemic hit. We anticipated a major loss of sales tax. It ended up being approximately $1 million. We had loss of city business due to closures, and many residents in West Covina lost their jobs. And then there was talk of a potential second wave. Coupled with that, the city continues to experience rising costs for all of our services that we provide. We took a very conservative approach, as we always do, in the budget. And there is a structural deficit this year of $2.3 million, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later in this presentation. As always, overtime for our public safety is of concern, and I'll show you a slide of that. And I wanted to be clear that the West Covina Sportsplex and our health department is not in this document. Our thought was that as we develop a budget for that, we'll bring it back to council at a later date. And then on the expenditure projections, we base those on a rollover budget. And when I say rollover budget, I mean basically the numbers were the same unless there was something that we knew that significantly changed. We continue to analyze and identify expenditures in the general fund that could be eligible for payment out of special funds so that we maximize the use of those funds. And for the past several years, since city manager and I have been here, we've been evaluating ongoing contracts and trying to get the best value to the city. And then lastly, there's been salary savings through attrition. The city has cut back very deep in some of the departments. And I think that's what we're experiencing when we are asking our staff, for example, graffiti. It's almost impossible anymore for one guy to do that. So we're going to have to look carefully at that and find some resolution for that. First, we're going to take a macro look at this, and then we're going to focus down into the general fund, which is a more micro look. So for all funds, our revenues are $145.7 million, with the general fund being the largest fund, and takes up 47% of that, $145 million. The expenditures for all funds is $159.6 million, and you might realize that the previous slide it was only $145, and the reason for that is that a lot of times in our special funds we don't get enough money in 1 year to do a specific project, so we accumulate those funds over several years and then we'll do a big project. This next slide just shows you the 4 categories that basically make up that $159.6 million. Salaries and benefits and maintenance and operations, both at 29%. And then there's capital projects and equipment purchases at 27%, and then our debt service is 15%. Now we're going to take a look for a second here at the general fund, maybe more than a second. So I went through and I took 7 years of data here and put revenues and expenditures side by side for the general fund. And as you notice in here, a lot of the time the expenditures were exceeding the revenues. In the last 2 years, you can see that those numbers are even, indicating that we had a balanced budget. I wanted to point out, though, in the 21-22 proposed, there is a $2.3 million gap between revenues and expenditures, and I'm going to emphasize that in the next slide. So our general fund revenues are expected to be $67.8 million for 20. Oh, there's a typo there. It should be 21-22. I missed it. So, but it's 21-22. You can see that our two largest revenues are property tax and sales tax at 65% of our budget. And down at the bottom of the slide where you see fund balance there, and it's 3%, that's the $2.3 million. And I wanted to emphasize that our expenditures only increased this year by 1.7%. The major cause of this deficit is our loss of revenue. And it actually comes out to $2.3 million. We lost TOT, $600,000, sales tax of $1 million, $300,000 for our Prop A exchange. There was $100,000 that we lost for discontinuance of the false alarms, and then a discontinuance of contractor's license tax. Now, the other emphasis I wanted to make is that $2.3 million will only be used if the revenues don't come in. And so say that people start traveling again. We're supposed to open up fully June 15th in California. If people start traveling, the TOT is going to go up. If, people will start shopping if they get their jobs back, and sales tax will go up. So that number could be much less. I don't expect it to be higher than that. And then this graph right here, I took 13 years of data. I took the property tax, and you can see what a stable source of revenue it's been for us. It continues to climb. It's sort of flattening out in the last couple years, but it's been a very stable source of revenue for us, and that's our largest revenue source. Our sales tax, in the same 13 years, and as you can see in the early years, there was a lot of growth in the sales tax. The first 8 years we had growth. The last 6 years have been sort of flat. It went up a little bit, down a little bit, but it's been still a very stable source of revenue for us. And then this graph here, I took 7 years of data. I took our two largest revenue sources, which is property tax and sales tax, and that's the blue line you see. And then I put public safety, police and fire expenditures alongside of it. And you can see in the early years, the first 5, that expenditures for public safety were higher than the revenues of those two largest sources, which was 60%, 65% of our revenues. And then you see that flip in the last 2 years, where now our revenues for those two sources are higher than our public safety expenditures. And I think we've done that without sacrificing service to the residents of West Covina. Moving to the expenditure side, we have, again, the same amount, $67.8 million, and our police and our fire make up 60% of that. This graph here, I just wanted to emphasize again, as I've said many times, our biggest asset in the city is our employees, and this shows how labor-intensive the things that we provide, the services we provide, are. 61% of this budget is salaries and benefits, and 39% is the maintenance and operations. So I took 5 years of data, and I stopped with 1920 because I wanted to give you actual numbers. And you can see police overtime and fire overtime for the last 5 years. And in the difference, there's several differences between the police and fire. Police, their overtime is spread over several funds because they have a lot of special funds that they can use. Fire is all general fund. There isn't any special revenue source anywhere else that the fire can offload some of those costs to. The overtime in that last year, 1920, for police was 2.9. It was 2.6 for the fire. This is the city manager's favorite slide. So at the end of this fiscal year, we're anticipating that fund balance, total fund balance, is going to be $21.4 million. And the non-spendable balance is 3.5, which leaves us with an unassigned fund balance of about 17.9 million, or 26.8%. In 1920, it was 12.6 million, so it's going to increase a lot. Now, some of that, just so you know, the non-spendable portion has gone down significantly. It's gone down because as you pay those advances from the successor agency to the general fund, those now become spendable resources. It moves out of an asset, a receivable, into another asset, which is cash. I wanted to present a caveat to this. This is a projection. I'm still, now that I'm fully staffed, we're still in the process of cleaning up the books from things that were here before I got here. So this number could change, and I don't know what that number will be yet, but I'm trying to get a lot of this stuff cleaned up before year end so that we can put that part of the problem, city's problem, behind us. But I do think we're on the right track. And the other thing, too, with this year is the increase is pretty much due to the issuance of the pension obligation bonds. I like this slide. So again, it shows 15 years of data of your fund balance. And back in 06, 07, it was almost up to 45 million. If you look at those first 2 years, city was spending down reserves at about $10 million a year. And then in 12, 13, and 13, 14, you clearly see the dissolution of the RDA. And then since then, it went up in 14, 15. That was probably due to some legislation. And, you know, everybody was sorting out how redevelopment, the loss of redevelopment affected the cities. And there were things that they then allowed, so it caused it to rise up again. And then it continued to decline until the last couple of years. And again, in 2021, we expect it to increase like I just told you. We're going to move on to the CIP, Capital Improvement Program. In the current year, we have $6.6 million for the capital. You see that jump in 21-22 to $38.7 million, and that's largely due to that's where I put the almost $20 million that we're going to get from relief funds. That's not to say that it all has to be used for capital. If the council so desires, the loss of revenue that we have experienced for COVID, we can use part of those funds to supplement the general fund as long as we can demonstrate that we actually had that loss. So, but that's, I just wanted to put it someplace where I knew where it was, and it can be moved at a later time, but it would never be moved unless we obtained city council approval. And then this is just a different depiction of the same numbers. It shows it graphically, and you can very clearly see that 20 million for the relief funds. Our next steps, you know, as in this past year, we will continue to monitor our revenues and expenditures timely and make necessary budget adjustments with the quarterly reports that we bring to the City Council. We need to shift from reactive to preventive maintenance. Our buildings are really in disrepair, and the can's been kicked down the road for a long time, and I don't think we can keep putting Band-Aids on things. we need to adhere to our adopted budget policies. And most significantly, I think we need to prepare a plan to resolve general fund structural deficit and maintain general fund reserves per the city policy. And then lastly, we've made a lot of progress with the unions over the last couple of years, but we need to continue to adopt alternative dispute resolution methods and perform interest-based bargaining. Lastly, before I take any questions, I want to thank the city manager and the department heads for their help in putting this document together. There were a lot of hours that go into this budget preparation. I also want to thank the finance staff, and in particular, Jasmine Patastraya of my staff, who put the document together for me and did a lot of these graphs and worked very tirelessly for me. But most of all, I want to thank the City Council for your continued support and your leadership and helping me get this budget done. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay. Councilman Wu?
Till November, I've been sitting here 6 years. Okay, from 2016, budget 17, 18, nothing but extremely painful. Okay, I went through hell in 2018. Okay, we didn't get a budget till late August. Okay, and if you see the video, okay, the YouTube, we went through 5 special meetings, tried to get a balanced budget, and end up they lay off 22 people, and they have the number worse. And that time, the 2018-19 budget, we down to $9 million of the fund balance and reserve. And that is what the state audit have the number looking into that. And then with this new management team and with all this reform and with all this, okay, and the cut the expenditure that waste of our taxpayer money, 7% of $204 million of pension, now down to 3.7%. And then let's give our taxpayer a breathing room because we are saving millions of dollars, just pay the interest. So I really see this, I can sit over here, okay, a little bit easier than in 2016, 17, 18. That is extremely painful to listen to the previous, finance director. I don't know even how many they have. I don't even know the name.
Even know how to
and they even don't know what fund balance is. So I just want to thank, and especially from $9.5 million 2018-19 fund balance, that's okay, and to last year, it's $14.7 million, and now to $17.6 million fund balance. That is a major improvement. Okay, compared with in 2014, that time I think the fund balance is $50 million, and they go to 13, then go to $9 million. So I hope we can continue to this trend. Okay, and going up. Okay, like next year we can continue to save. But one thing I want to discuss with you is the service. Since we are a little bit breathing room, I'm not talking about spend money because we do a little bit okay because we still have a overtime issue that's going to eat us alive. We need to try to find a way. But at the same time, I don't know. Do we, based on this budget, do we have any chance? Okay, 2 things. Because we lay off 22 people in 2018, and now the city suffer about the lack of service, including graffiti, removal, staff. Okay, how can we address that issue based on your budget? And the second issue, we only have a 90 police officer. Okay, and then I know before pandemic, our budget is 98. Is there any possibility we can look into higher P1, P2? Okay, and the police officer is a public safety issue. Can we, reduce currently, we just too much stress for only the minimum staffing, and I think this is a lot of people complaining about they don't see enough of a police on the street, especially right now crime rate going up, like crazy. So maybe, I don't know, this budget, when I look pretty good, we still have a $2.3 million gap, and we still have to work on it. But in the meantime, I see the reserve going up. Is there any possibility we can address some of public safety issue? Of course, we need to address, until, I know this is a preliminary budget, but we still have to try to find a gap. But in the meantime, can we increasing the reform to certain time? We cut the bone to the staffing to skeleton. Is that about time for us gradually put a flashback, and so we can function now much better, And I understand, we still need to be cautious, but any possibility in that ground?
I'm going to answer those. There were two questions there. I'm going to answer the question first about the maintenance. As you will recall, most of those maintenance guys that got laid off were paid out of special funds. There wasn't very much savings to the general fund. We can certainly look at that and try to put more staff out there. We know for sure that there's areas lacking, and we can look into that without it impacting the general fund.
My understanding that in 2018 budget, they lay off that 22 hour, and worker that on the street and helping us. We only save about 150,000 general fund. The rest of their salary is from the restricted fund. So it doesn't make any sense to do that, So I think we right now look like our public work is totally, out of the staff, unless you can see the street, this and that, some of the places really struggling. So any possibility, we need to use our restricted fund to hire some of our important staff back to our city, at the same time clean up the city.
As far as police officers go, we can do some analysis and look at what you suggested with the P1, P2. And
I interviewed P1, P2 staff a couple years ago in 2018 when I brought up this issue. P1, their pay is about $60,000. P2 a little bit higher, plus overtime. So we're talking about $70,000, $80,000 plus their equipment. So we're talking about one P1, P2 officer. And if we can have 10 possible, $1 million, $1.2 million budget. Due to they are, and their retirement still take another 30 years. So in that way, we don't have to worry. Hire the lateral, end up we have the right away pay their and pension, or they in the much higher. So and plus, I think right now currently we are 2.75, 57, right? So not like 350 like before that. That contract. So in that way, possible we can recruit, and plus a lot of people they're going to retire when they are 50 years old. Mm-hmm. So we are going to out of a lot of staffing. So we need to invest in the future, 1 year plan, 3 years, and 5 year plan for our public safety, and then to make sure to protect and serve our community.
And one of my first thoughts with that, Councilman Wu, is that if we hire officers, there could be a reduction in the overtime, because a lot of the PD's overtime is due to, shortages in staffing and vacancies. So as you fill those vacancies, because they previously had higher number of officers, then you should have a correlation. It may not fully offset, but I can look into it.
Yeah, would you please look into it? Again, the public safety issue, a lot of our residents really concerned about that, and maybe we can, right now, just look this budget I went through, we can see all the green notes, it's look much confident to read, not too painful to read like back in 2017-18. But so I want to thank you for your hard work. I really appreciate 2 years on the job. You are the longest finance director we ever have. Also, then like 6 months, it disappear. And I think continuity to improve our city, especially finance department, is so vital for our city growth and future. Thank you again, and please look into the P1, P2 police officer and our public work staffing. And I think some of the vacant position, like Paulina, prior position, we need to maybe fill it in, as we already have budget. So we need
the budget.
Community economy development manager to bring more business to us, try to sell the city, okay, and to tell them how good the city. But thank you so much. I yield my time.
Any questions?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One question, and going back to what Councilman Wu said, I know a lot of that staff we were paying through special funds. So are we looking at possibly hiring possibly a grant writer, considering what the state, Governor Newsom, is providing, seems like billions of dollars. What's our capacity to access some of those special funds that might be able to provide us with some of those maintenance workers and things like that?
I didn't have a grant writer on my radar screen at all. We have had, some success in staff putting in for grants, and as we hear about them, that's how we've been handling it. But for a full-time grant writer, I'm not sure it's needed.
And then the other question, you did mention the $2.3 million shortfall. Are we concerned with the West Covina Sportsplex Health Department? Is that something that is, I guess, a concern?
It's not. My understanding is it's not going to impact the general fund, so it's not a concern. It's supposed to work like an enterprise and pay for itself. So it's not a concern as long as it doesn't touch our city's general fund.
Okay, so on the sports complex, we don't anticipate.
Well, I don't think we know yet. I haven't seen, or I don't know. I don't think the council's decided what we're going to do with that yet totally. So until we know that, I don't. It's not a concern to me. I'm not spending money on it right now.
Through the chair, I'd like to answer that question in a slightly different way. It feels to me like we're not out of the woods, but we've turned a corner. We've moved the ball. We've gone from having to study cash flow so intensely that we were pretty stressed out about it. If we hadn't done that pension bond transaction, we would have been negative cash by a couple $1 million by September of that fiscal year. So it was really right down to the end. We're trying to identify the problems, quantify the problems, and solve for the problems. And we're doing it in every aspect of the city government. We got to continue to be good stewards. The risk management program that was adopted is actually working. But that just means we got to be very diligent about our avoiding risk and transferring risk. We're also now at a point where if the big crisis is maybe passed us by, we got to pay special attention to things like regulatory compliance. We right away have got to figure out how to get a new AKG in every firehouse. If I ran the world, I'd buy 2 new pumper engine and a new ladder truck tomorrow. We know the substandard condition of our fire stations, especially Fire 1. We probably need to move out of it, station number 1. We've got to bear down on facility repairs. And we're making gain. You just approved the energy project. We're going to do $7 million worth of new things, cool roofs and solar panels and light bulbs and all of that, and pay for it out of the energy savings. But it's not like we can return to being fully staffed. We got to continue to run lean. I would echo Robin's thought about the grant writer. We've been using staff on the 3rd floor of City Hall to write a lot of grants. Our new assistant finance director has been really good. We've all been pitching in and trying to pursue every single grant we hear about that meets with our mission. We turned in a $5 million grant for surface transportation. We turned in a $9.5 million grant for ADA transition plan that they shifted us toward Azusa Avenue. But it's not time to lose focus. We got to stay on this. Robin said, and I think it's our corporate philosophy, our employees are our biggest asset. We've got them all under contract now, but we're going to have to collectively bargain with them and treat them fairly too, because we got to keep that workforce intact. So we've got some good work to do. I think our recommendation tonight, if you've got any other questions, we'd welcome them, but refer this out, encourage broad public dissemination of it. We'll do this meeting without you all tomorrow night here in these chambers and hear from the public. Very important piece. And then we'll bring it back and we'll try to answer your questions from tonight and see if we can let you make some choices about the things that you're interested in doing more of right away.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I have a quick one. Okay, when you mentioned we lost the revenue of false alarm, my understanding is that time I against is the billing, because they miss billing all the time. A lot of seniors get billed crazy, like myself. Okay, and police never show up. They bill me for $100. So the billing is the issue, but I don't think we against the false alarm penalty. Okay, and that thing is create a a resource on the police officer. Okay, my understanding is if 1 year you have 3 times, okay, or false alarm, and then you have to pay, okay, the fine because you waste the police show up. Police show up. If police doesn't show up, it doesn't count. But if police show up and you have a false alarm, I remember the 3rd time you have to pay. So I don't think we counsel against that. Okay, we just against that building company in Texas. Okay, and just crazily bill everybody. And we received so many complaints. Okay, and that's the reason. So I don't know why we lose the revenue. We lost the revenue. Maybe, okay, we need to find a more better, okay, and building company more credible. Okay, that there will be, maybe our dispatchers of, okay. So we have to find a way.
Let me put that topic on your work program and bring you back, give you some options you could look at.
Exactly. Okay, because again, okay, any city, they all have this false alarm penalty. We don't want to let people abuse, but at the same time, we're wasting a lot of our police resource. So I think maybe you should bring it back and we visit, see what is fairness. Okay, again, we don't want to gouge in the law-abiding citizen for mistake, because you send a bill to them with a city logo, okay, and a lot of seniors, they're just worried. They just write a check and send out, and that's how they pocket the money. And the same thing, the city shouldn't make the money, shouldn't deserve. Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
I was just going to piggyback on Mr. Councilman Wu. Robin, thank you for this report and your staff. I think it's wonderful, and thank you for all your work. And the other thing is, I know that it's a big issue for our residents that we do get some more maintenance people out there to take care of the problems that we have as far as the graffiti. And I mean, that is a major issue. I mean, so I think, and I know that we lack, personnel for that. So I think that's something we should look at. And also public safety. We need more police officers out there. So just piggyback on you. Yep.
And I do remember the false alarm. It was the same agreement. We're all in agreement with that. But Robin, as a finance director, the same as what they said. Thank you very much. We've seen, it's a great presentation that you had. So great job. I mean, you are the right person for this job. So we are thankful. Residents has been saying, "Oh, city's going to bankruptcy. We're heading down towards, the down."
We are in bankruptcy.
And yeah. But I mean, as you can see, the trend. We didn't go lower than what was said. We're going higher. But you're right. We're not out of the woods yet. We still have ways to improve. We are still in recovery and rebuilding. But that being said, does anybody else have a question? Okay, then I'd like to move.
It's a receive and file, right?
Is it receive and file? Okay, receive and file. Is it? Question?
There's 3 motions. Yes.
Okay, I'll move the motion.
There's 3 recommendations, Council, Mayor and Council, on your staff report. And so if we could have a motion to carry out all 3, or as our city attorney said, a motion to approve staff's recommendation.
We'll go ahead and motion to approve the recommendation.
Move the motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion from Councilwoman Diaz and a second from Councilmember Tabatabai.
Roll call.
Councilmember Tabatabai?
Aye.
Councilman Wu?
Aye.
Councilwoman Diaz?
Aye.
Mayor Lopez Viado?
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Okay. Any AB 1234 conference and meeting from the council? Seeing none. Okay, which is agenda item number 21. I actually have a request. I know we've had a lot of complaints with businesses, safety concerns, residents had issues with how it is, so crime and so forth. So I did meet with Mylan, our code enforcement, and so he actually had this program in other cities, which I'd like to develop I'd like to have this implemented in West Covina, which is preventing crime through environmental design. The program would be in collaboration between the city and business community to enhance the appearance of the commercial properties, which encourages prosperity for our businesses. And with Mylan's background, and he had that information with other cities, and he taught classes with the California State Code Enforcement Association and have attended training in the subject of LA County Sheriff's training. I would like to see this being implemented, and if council approves, the city and him primarily can move forward with this.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion, okay. Second, then we're good. Okay. All right. That one will go on. And is there any city council comments? Do I have
Again, Dario, I'm sure you're watching, changing diapers. Congratulations.
I think he fall asleep. He's a baby changing diaper.
I think he's asleep.
Last night.
New parent, lack of sleep. So he probably slept through this meeting.
29 years ago, changing diapers like yesterday.
Yeah, congratulations, Mayor Pro Tem, and Father's Day is next month, so I can actually say Happy Father's Day to all these gentlemen here in the council. So hopefully you'll join us.
And quickly, I just want to have people regarding the food bank. Coming in, okay, and Saturday at 9 o'clock, and we will be there 8 o'clock. And I know they have a couple of groups, they want to donate the fund directly to the food bank. Okay, I think this is a good event. So we welcome people to be a volunteer, or if people in need, please come, show up, pick up the food. And last time I remember they have diaper. So maybe Dario can show up, pick up some diaper. Okay, so anyway, he need a lot of money to feed a baby. Okay, so thank you so much.
Diaper. Other than that, I'd like to conclude this meeting and adjourn. Adjourn second. Meeting's done. Have a good night, everyone.